Hello and welcome to the Video Game Dads podcast, where three guys in a basement talk gaming, fatherhood, and everything in between. This is episode 29, and we are a bi-weekly independent podcast. We are family friendly, so no cussing, but no promising immature. I said it again. No immature content. Just kidding. There's going to be some immature content.
There will be plenty of immature
and there's
content.
might be some mature content, but we won't swear, so you can listen to this while you're fixing a canoe. What do us dads do when we listen to podcasts? We fix random things that break, put away our kids' toys.
Yeah, I pick up heavy stuff.
Yeah. Yep, and put it back down.
Yeah, and put it back down.
But anyway, there's three of us here, and we are staying on schedule, which is nice. So we're trying to get these out for you, and we were luckily able to all meet tonight, sans Shane. But right in front of me, we've got
Adam.
And to my right,
Michael.
And I am Ben, and we are your three hosts. Shane is off tonight. He could not make it, but shout out to you, Shane. We're drinking a microbrew beer for you.
Oh, that's right. I'm pouring out a microbrew with one hand and a juicy juice with the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's Shane's mixture of choice, right? His mixer.
No, actually, it's that NES energy drink stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He drinks a lot of energy drinks. He drinks one called Venom.
Venom, yeah.
And I always think, you talk about accurate advertisement. They're telling you exactly what it is.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Shouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, it's got the...
They'd be like, don't be surprised when it destroys your kidney, your heart, and your brain, because we called it Venom.
Yeah.
It's supposed to shut your body down.
Yeah.
Truth in advertising. I like it, though. It's got a big 99-cent on it. It's the same size as the, what's it, Arizona Tea Company ones or whatever.
Yeah.
I used to think those were so cool as a kid. I'm like, oh, I got a can. It's a huge can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's how the whole energy drink thing got started. It's like, what are we going to sell this stuff as? What's going to be eye-popping? I don't know. Let's make the can just really freaking tall to the point where it's going to fall over all the time.
Yeah, how are we going to tweak Red Bull? We'll just make it bigger.
Yeah. Oh, it's outlawed in all these other countries, but not ours. We know what's up.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, guys, it's good to get together. Episode 29. We're almost at episode 30. What happens when we turn 30 for the most part? I talked about it last episode. We age rapidly. Maybe that'll start happening.
We're just start hunching over.
Yeah.
We're going to the podcast is going to get another mortgage.
Yep. Yeah. 401k. We start thinking about the future. We start thinking about all our regrets.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's only going to get funner for everybody after
that
this.
tattoo that we got in, episode 19 is going to start feeling really stupid.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, the tribal tattoo for sure. Yeah, wrapped all the way around the arm. Barbed wire. Did you guys ever see that movie, Pamela Anderson, 1991?
I remember when it came out. I don't think I actually saw it, but...
Did you see it?
I did see it.
I saw it too.
Everybody on Earth got a barbed wire tattoo, though, around that time.
Right, yeah. Barbed wire, and then what's the other, the tribal one?
You mean like the one Bill Goldberg has? Or,
yeah.
It was like nobody had one, and then everybody had one.
Yeah. All right, fellas. I think we should get right into it. Let's go into our video game book club.
Let's do it.
All right, our video game book club is brought to you by that resurgence of Roseanne.
All right. I was just thinking that the world needed that again.
Yeah. Now, be honest, round table. I'll go first. I liked Roseanne as a kid.
I had mixed feelings. I didn't dislike it, but I didn't really like it either.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of in with Adam. I was a big, I thought similar kind of story. I was a big Married with Children fan.
Oh, okay.
Huge Married with Children fan.
Nice,
I recorded them on VHS tapes and everything.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed Roseanne. I just wasn't like an everyday, every episode type of thing.
Yeah, I liked Roseanne just because I don't know, we were pretty dysfunctional, kind of like that too, and I liked seeing that. Yeah. Oh, and the other thing, I didn't have cable, and it was on at 10:30 at night right around Empty Nest and the Golden Girls. I just got a Golden Girls T-shirt from Walmart, and it says "Stay Golden." I've yet to find a time to wear that.
I actually bought that for my wife. She's a monster Golden Girls fan. I know it's a men's shirt, but she just wears it around the house. And in fact, I got it a little bit bigger when she was pregnant, so she could kind of just wear it to like sleep in and stuff like that.
Awesome. All right, cool. So if we go to a convention and she shows up or something, we'll have to coordinate and wear it together.
Yeah, my wife's a big Golden Girls fan too. Actually, you know the adult coloring books.
They
have a Golden Girls. Yeah, they have a Golden Girls adult coloring book.
Whoa.
I bought it for as like one of her stocking stuffers, I think last Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, here's this.
Awesome. Did she like it? Is she using it?
I think so. She doesn't really do the adult coloring so much. I do it some like whenever my kid colors, So we sit down and color together, and I color. I have a Game of Thrones adult coloring book,
there you go.
And so I color in it, and he colors dinosaurs or whatever.
Blanche is hot.
Is she the one that's like all pervy?
Yeah. That's why
I was always kind of weirded out by that. I was like, people that age shouldn't be pervy anymore.
See, and I actually, that was one of those moments where I realized like old people are adults, because when you're a kid, I feel like kids are kids and not kids forever. You have a kid, you have adults, you have old people. And I always felt, you didn't think of old people as young people because you can't think abstract as a kid. But I remember seeing old people and just thinking, there's always going to be old people around, not thinking I'm eventually going to be an old person. But then when I saw the way Blanche interacted and Rose, and they were like a teenage group of odd friends, and then you had the old wisecracking mom, and then you had the uptight tall one, and they lived in Florida in this cool Florida-looking house. And
I used to think that the uptight tall one was like
a great show.
I used to think it was a dude.
Oh,
like literally when I was a kid, I thought
B. Arthur.
I really thought B. Arthur was a guy.
She was a bit mannish.
I was like, oh, there's like a show with a guy dressed up like an old lady. That's cool.
Yeah,
whatever.
And the only one still alive, right?
Is B. Arthur the only one?
No,
Betty White.
It's Betty White.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Betty White. She's like.
She had a little resurgence here in the last few years.
I wonder. They need to carbon date her. Like she's been around forever. I think she's somewhere. She showed up in Leviticus or something.
Yeah,
like that.
In her 90s.
She's been here for a while.
She's awesome. Yeah,
she is awesome.
Yeah, I like her a lot. She's in that Snickers commercial. She's been in a lot of like recent movies, a lot of like B horror movies here and there.
I think a TV show too. She was in.
Yeah. Yeah, and she used to have an old time, like, it's now public access, but she used to have basically kind of like a daytime talk show where she just interviewed people. And I saw this randomly on one of those Roku channels where you can like watch, what is it called when, you might know the term for this, Adam, where it's like public domain television. So public domain old school television is kind of cool because it's all these old black and white shows, and one of them was called the Betty White Show. And I watched it, and it was really cool because she was just such like a nice person, great personality, just kind of a female Mr. Rogers in her younger days, which makes sense now that she's like so nice and so cool and so awesome and so like, I don't know, not typical old lady or whatever. But anyway, Golden Girls is great. Empty Nest, Night Court. Have we already talked about this? I feel like we talked about Night Court on the podcast.
Yeah, and I only have vague recollections of Night Court. It was always on so late that I think
and I know the themes to it. I don't know how I knew it, but like I was with my friends at a trivia contest, and they were blown away when I knew that was the it was like an audio one, and they played Night Court, and I got it, and like no one else got it, and my dad used to like to watch that a lot.
Night Court was on kind of late. That's what I remember.
It was.
I think it was on so late that it never, like my frontal cortex like wasn't working by that point to store memories.
Okay.
Like I only remember it being on TV, but I can't remember anything specific about it.
Oh man. So the bailiff was Richard Mole, and he always like talk like, he was kind of like the Elaine, the guy from like Friends or whatever, that talked all low, and like every sitcom has like a tall, low talking weird guy. Coach Boomer, he was just kind of like dumb.
Is Boomer he's the voice of Patrick on SpongeBob?
He is the voice of Patrick on SpongeBob. Yeah.
I actually really used to like that show, Coach, and I like SpongeBob too. So I'm a fan of his work.
Yeah, Coach was funny. Do you remember the last like 3 years of Coach? He coached a professional football team. He went from the Screaming Eagles of Washington to
that's right.
He did the Orlando Breakers, an expansion. Team. I like the fact that they had this like long drawn out like story series of Coach,
and then he moved into and when he got that job, he moved to like this house that was on like a burial ground.
Yeah,
and then like all this weird stuff started happening, and his kid dropped into another dimension.
Weird storylines. Like if you talk about the last couple seasons of shows and the weird storylines they kind of have to do to pull them together, it's like a mixture of sadness and like freaking bizarre. Like, wow, I can't believe they did
the
that.
last 1 or 2 seasons of a lot of shows are just depressing to watch.
Yeah,
like there are all these great shows that were like super good that should have just ended
past their prime. They can't hang up the cleats.
Yeah, The Office is kind of that way.
You know what? And it's coming back, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Well,
that'll probably be
we were talking about it last night. Yeah, they're bringing back like half the old cast, and they're going to bring in like half a new cast. Steve Carell is not coming back.
It'll be poop.
They're bringing back Super Mario Brothers Super Show again. Those guys,
really?
Yeah, Jerry. They've got catheters and crutches. I'm sorry, they're probably all dead.
Yeah. I hear they're going to try to work on a new Mario movie.
We're the Mario Brothers. Something stupid 90s rap. You remember that?
The
opening of that.
They had like this 50-year-old guy like trying to dance around. Hippity hop, hip hippity hop.
Oh man. Yeah, I actually started watching that with Sebastian. Like he's not watching TV, which is probably great, but like some days I kind of wish I could have 10 minutes of him like looking at something. But he's not into TV yet. And I'll put on that. I'll put on the real Ghostbusters. And he doesn't want anything to do with it.
Yeah, my kid, I put on these like in 4K. I put on these like animal shows where it just shows like different animals walking around, and he seems to be pretty appeased.
Now, see, I try to get my kid to watch like Planet Earth or whatever.
That's pretty much what I was.
Yeah. So I'll put that on, but I always pick I always inadvertently, not really on purpose, but like I'll pick the episode and be like, oh, look at this beautiful gazelle. Like that's a look at this beautiful animal. And then a lion will just come out and rip the gazelle limb from limb. Like literally every time I put it on a nature show, it's like, oh, look at that cute little animal. Here's something killing it.
How does he react to that?
Yeah, I had to turn it off. He's like, Dad, why is the lion kissing the gazelle? I'm like, because they're friends and you need to turn your head.
Yeah, you're not ready for this.
I never get like more than 15 minutes into one before some cute cuddly critter gets murdered.
See, my kid's he's a little bit older than yours, Ben, but he's really into like animals right now because we have a lot of books with animals. So he'll like point and when my wife goes walking, he'll point and say dog, dog, or when he sees a duck, he knows duck, and so when he sees all these different animals on TV, he just points and like yells at the screen. So it's kind of cute.
Yeah, I can't wait till he starts talking because he's at the point now where he knows he can't communicate, so he's now communicating through pointing. And I'm kind of teaching my wife because since he can't say whatever, he's even regressing. You know how they say mama, dada, and now he's just kind of like, F it. I'm not going to say anything.
Right.
And I know it's like, you know how most like first time parents are like, oh my gosh, he's got a brain problem or something.
Right.
I was like, no.
Sure.
That's the way kids go. But now he points to stuff, and so I tell him what it
helpful.
is.
Yeah.
So he's just like, and it's his way of knowing he can't communicate with me yet. But when he points, then I drive to whatever he does, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I kind of can't wait. It'll be like, your favorite puppy talking as soon as he talks. That you finally can figure out what the heck's on this kid's mind, and it's probably stupid stuff.
Did you try? Have you done any like sign language at all?
No, I feel like that's a little too hipster.
Yeah, it helps for stuff. Like we have where he puts his hand to his mouth whenever we say, do you want to eat? And we put our hand in the mouth. So he learned before he could like say eating, he just, whenever he's hungry, he puts his hand to his mouth. Kind of. Or we taught him like, thank you. Like he rubs his stomach apparently. They teach him this at like the daycare or whatever. But
that's funny. I still say thank you the same way. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and he's now learned more.
Yeah.
He does not stop saying
but
more.
See, right
That's
now
the
you're
worst.
like, man, I want my kid to talk more.
I know.
But here in like, I don't know, 6 or 8 months or whatever, I get to be the guy with the older kid right now. But like anytime, like my kid, anytime there's a if we're driving down the road in the car in any random area and there's like McDonald's arches someplace, I want McDonald's. Doesn't matter whether he's hungry or not. And it's like, just stop talking about McDonald's, man. We're not going to McDonald's. But they start saying things when you don't want them to.
I'm at the point where he's really got down more, and like if you give him like his water bottle, right? And when he drinks like a quarter of it, he'll just be like more, and you're like, you got plenty right there, son. Like you can do this, and more. So you like fake fill it up for him, and then it's awful.
He's already handing me stuff that doesn't exist, which I think is cute, but also like, okay, like he'll pick something up that's really light and he'll think he has it, and he puts it in his little two cute fingers and he'll hand it to me, and I pretend I take it. But like after the 10th time, I'm kind of like, well, I'm not gonna act as amazed that you're giving me nothing, young man, because you got to learn that.
It's funny, their little imaginations, that sort of thing. But I was down here yesterday doing some work, and my kid has like some toy cars and things here, and he just like starts yelling at me, fix it. Why don't you fix it? I asked you to fix it. Please fix it. And I'm like, what are you even talking about, man? Like we're just chilling, and now you're yelling at me to fix something, and I don't know what you're talking about. And so eventually I figured out that like he was talking about his car, right? And so I walked over there and I was like, it's not broke. And he's like, yes, it is. Fix it. And so I pick it up and I'm like, voop, 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 zzz, zzz. And then I handed it back to him. He's like, thank you. That's all he wanted me to do. He just wanted me to make some noises.
He wanted you to fake fix it.
He wanted me just to fake fix the car that he could no longer play with because it was fake broken.
Oh man.
And he was really upset about this. Like this was priority one. Everything needs to stop.
Yeah.
Until this gets done. You need to fix my fake broke car.
Well, I mean, he's got his priorities right. He doesn't want to be putting that thing on the road if it's not road legal.
Something like that. And then he said, you know what, Dad? You need to get back over there and play those video game book club picks.
He did not.
No, he didn't. But I'm just trying to bring it full circle.
Gotcha. Right. No. All right. Well, you're right. We need to talk about that. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, our video game book club. So our video game book club, for those new, I'll give you the quick spiel. It's where us dads will pick a video game. We'll go system by system, and then the listeners will also submit a suggestion. Oh, and we didn't mention this. We have an email. Our email, Adam?
videogamedads@yahoo.com.
Yeah, and our Twitter is @videogamedads, Instagram @videogamedads. We have YouTube. We'll talk about a very awesome, lengthy YouTube video for you lengthy, awesome video viewer fans that can't pull themselves away from the podcast. I think, podcast, for the most part, you listen to a podcast, but if you do get into that YouTube, go ahead and listen to us. I know it's not a huge percentage that crossover because, again, dads and time and things like that. But I watched the video right before going to bed. The phone hit me in my face. Is that still happening to you guys?
Yeah, I wake up with it in bed all the time.
Do you remember when iPad was a thing? Thank God it's not anymore. You remember iPad was like the next big thing, and then everybody kind of was like, oh, it's just a big phone that you can't put in your pocket. The iPad, let's let it go away. How that was breaking everybody's teeth. Because people would drop it on their face at night.
Yikes!
Which I've had my phone drop on my face, and that hurts. But I can't imagine getting dental surgery, from oral surgery.
Actually, a lot of people are killed every year by walking into traffic playing on their phones too, or iPads.
Yeah. I don't doubt it, or in manholes.
Yeah, so PSA, don't do that.
Yeah, but put it on YouTube.
Technology's dangerous.
Well, not the dying, but
so
like
book club pick.
No, we're not going to talk about that. Yeah. We're going to talk about stupid stuff instead. Sorry, we were real.
No, it's cool.
ADD.
Book club pick. So Dad gets a pick.
Yep.
Listeners get a pick. You can submit your picks to us by email or on Facebook, facebook.com, Video Game Dads.
Yep.
And which one do you want to do first? Just go around dad pick or
and this is basically what we think for you to submit any game. This could be a game that you just thought was quasi interesting. Just can't be in the top 15%. No Zeldas, no Marios, no Street Fighter 3, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3, or 4 or 5, I guess. No Uncharted. Yeah, let's pick a weird. No N-Gage, Sonic N. No Neo Geo Art of Fighting?
You can submit any Neo
Geo.
Yeah, I think Neo Geo is pretty
safe.
Yeah.
Baseball Stars 2. Probably safe.
Probably out of the...
probably pretty safe.
Yeah, Neo Geo is exempt from the rules.
Okay.
It is the most powerful machine ever created by man.
Yeah. It looks like the thing, the huge VCR games. I mean, you could kill a guy with them.
Absolutely.
That's the first thing I think of when I look at that. Is what game, if someone came down here and you need to murder them? Actually, it's funny because you actually have a sword controller over there in the corner, so that would probably be the first thing you'd go for if you had to.
What, the katana?
The katana, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the stupidest things in this basement. It's a
yeah.
So I have a big controller collection because I needed something else stupid to collect.
Yeah.
And so that's the Onimusha 2 Collector's Edition, Special Edition Hori katana sword controller. It's a controller that looks like a sword.
Yeah. I mean,
it looks awesome, though.
Perfect for any collector that wants.
Yeah, you have to have those. You have to have the chainsaw Resident Evil 4 controllers.
Yep.
You need a steel battalion. You need a tank stick. You got to have some big controllers.
Yep. So our video game book club pick last week was by Shane, and then our viewer pick. Can you tell us, Adam, what our 2 games were?
So the pick was my pick. It was.
I'm sorry. It was your
okay.
pick. Sorry.
But it's the N64 is what us dads are on, and it was Mischief Makers. And then the listener pick was from Ian. He reminded me. I couldn't remember who had submitted it, but thank you, Ian.
Yep.
And it was Crash in the Boys. I think I keep saying Crash in the Gang, but it's Crash in the Boys for the NES.
Yeah, because when I was trying to look it up, I was like, man, this game's really hard to find.
Yeah, I kept saying that, and I don't know why I kept. They
are a gang, but
there's a PAL game called like Street Gangs.
Yeah.
And I think I was getting the two confused with one another. But in any respect, that was the listener pick. So we played both of those. I guess we can do my pick first.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, so Mischief Makers. Let me bring up my data sheets here. So it's a game that was released in North America in October of '97. So this came out roughly a year after the NES. Sorry, not NES. N64 launched, and I remember this kind of coming out, and again, like the first year and a half, 2 years of N64 were pretty software starved.
Yeah,
and
I moved to PlayStation honestly, October '97, probably the month I got my first PlayStation.
Yeah, and I remember picking this game up as a rental, just because it was something new that I hadn't played yet, and then playing it at that point, and it kind of made a little bit of a mark on me because I wasn't really expecting much. They hadn't really hyped it up that much in like Nintendo Power or. Really
commercials or
commercials or really anywhere. I mean, I think the month that it came out, there was some kind of a write up in Nintendo Power for it, but like again, it was kind of under the radar
because of the genre. I mean, it was dated from the start.
Well, sort of, yeah. I mean, in the era where everything was trying to be 3D, this was a 2D action platformer kind of game.
Yeah.
So, I picked it up kind of reluctantly, thinking, well, I've played everything else. I guess I'll just give this a go and see if it's any good. And I remember really liking it, and I really hadn't played it too much since. I've started on a couple times since then, but I hadn't really played that far into it. So I thought I'd use this as an opportunity to play it a little bit more. This is a game that was developed by Treasure and published by Enix. Nice. I couldn't remember who the publisher was, but it's kind of cool when you see the old Enix games.
Oh yeah, because the first thing I recognized.
Yeah, Enix, made some awesome games back in the day, and it probably wasn't long after this that it got gobbled up by Square, and became Square Enix or whatever they call themselves now. I don't even know, is Enix still even officially in the name of Square anymore? I think it's just Squaresoft now.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was Enix and Square, and then it was Square Enix for a while, and then I think it's just Squaresoft again. But in any respect, it's a good game, and I went back and played through it, and it's a game that's based on a gimmick, which is grabbing and shaking things, and that's kind of what the whole game is built on. And if you've ever played like Yoshi's Story for N64, it's kind of similar in appearance. So it's sort of a polygonal game,
a platformer type.
Yeah, it's a platform thing, and the controls on it are a little bit weird. Like they take a little bit to get used to.
Yeah,
the jump's kind of shorter than you would expect, and it's a little bit faster than you would think.
It's like the jump reminds me of Cuphead.
Yeah, Cuphead, or I was thinking like even Mega Man.
Yeah, and I was also that kind of jetpack thing that you have on there. It almost kind of reminded me of almost like the Rocket Knight a little bit, like a weaker Rocket Knight almost on Sega Genesis. If anyone's ever played that,
or Sparkster,
or Sparkster, yep,
yeah, and
a little Rice Star-ness action with the holding of the thing and then
it is kind of, and it's cartoony like Rice Star is, but it's essentially your character is kind of this little girl robot kind of thing, or
it's a small wonder. Anybody get that reference?
No.
Oh man, the show with the girl robot. She's like a little girl, and it's like haha, and you open her back, and she talks like a robot. You guys don't know Small Wonder? Okay, please, any listener, please tell these guys I'm not a crazy person, but it's about a girl robot, and that is going to be our next sponsor of our Video Game Book Club. I'll play the opening scene. Continue, Adam. Sorry.
So the game, is it's not just as simple as a left to right, scroll. It's almost like they sat around in a room and they just thought, what kind of interesting things can we do in these little bite-sized nuggets? So it's split up sort of like Yoshi's Story, where you have main world areas, but all the levels are split up on a map, and the levels are relatively short, but a lot of them have up and down scrolling or right to left or whatever. But it's sort of like they kind of like a Mario game sometimes, where they come up with a gimmick for a level and then they build a whole level around that gimmick.
Yep.
That was one of my favorite probably things about it, was like kind of the level design, and not only that with the graphics were great, nice bright colors, and everything was real crisp. But I also liked the backgrounds were actually really nice and changed throughout the levels. It wasn't kind of that same look throughout.
Well, and it sort of uses some sprites and some backgrounds. And there's parallax scrolling in the backgrounds, but it also uses polygons. And again, if you ever played Yoshi's Story, it has a nice background 3D effect that plays well into the game too. So it takes a little bit to get a handle on it and to feel like, or at least for me, to adjust to the controls to get used to it. And that's probably just because I'm so used to playing games that just control a little bit differently. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with this game in particular as far as its controls go. They're just. The same thing happens every time I pick up a Mega Man game. I spend the first 30 minutes just kind of recalibrating my brain.
That's I feel like almost every system. I keep going back because I keep playing Sega Genesis one day, N64 the next day. And
then throw in a Dreamcast and then your brain really explodes. I used to play Dreamcast so much that it felt so great. But Dreamcast, as a huge fan, one of the hardest controllers to go back to, where you first feel, it's like, I feel like I'm holding playing with a bagel.
People complain about the Dreamcast controller and the N64 controller. I actually still can pick up a Dreamcast controller and it still feels kind of natural to me.
Yeah. I like it, but yeah.
It is a weird controller, though. And the weirdest thing about it is that the cord comes out of the bottom of it, so that has that little clip thing. I'm not sure whose idea that was, but
dang it, I had an explanation for it. I remember because when I could eat, live, and breathe, is that right? Dreamcast, I looked up everything about it all the time and saw, again, that was my system. I remember on eBay just searching for random peripherals back in the day before people were into retro gaming and things like that, and I don't have a reason why, but they had a very specific reason why the stupid cord comes out of the bottom instead of the top. Oh, it has to do with they couldn't, because it would have been the weight of it would have been off because of the memory card slots.
Oh, the VMU.
Because the VMUs, which were innovative, the little Game Boys, which as the years go on, people forget more and more about the cool intricacies of the Dreamcast. But I digress. Sorry, we said Dreamcast and I got excited.
Sure.
So go ahead. I hate to derail your train there.
No, it's good. But in any respect, I mean, if you like side-scrolling action platformer type games, things like your Mega Mans, things like this kind of puts me in the mind of Klonoa for PlayStation. I mean, Klonoa I think is probably a better game than this, but if you like that style of game, you'll like this game because it's real similar.
Feels like a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's a throwback game for sure. And a lot of Treasure games, just as a developer, a lot of their games are throwback games. They're they make a lot of shooters. They make these little gimmicky platformers and that sort of thing. They're kind of a throwback developer, at least back when they used to develop games. As far as I know, Treasure is still a thing, but they don't really make anything.
Yeah,
so I don't really understand.
They just kind of own property.
They keep the treasures to themselves. They're like pirates.
I don't understand where they went, but I looked up the prices on this. Loose cart will run you $15 to $20.
Not bad. Not bad.
Not a
for
super
being pretty obscure.
Yeah. It's not very common. It's you'll see it every now and then, but it's certainly not one that you'll see in every pile of N64 games.
No, I actually don't have it in my collection.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when the Game Chasers were here at my house, nerd alert, but if you watch the Game Chasers on YouTube, I'm actually in one of the episodes. I can't remember which one. It's like season 4.
I think it's called Fire and Ice.
Yeah, that's it. The one where they came to Kansas City hanging out with Norm, but they actually came to my house and I sold Jay from the Game Chasers my Mischief Makers. He was 3 games short of an N64 collection, and Mischief Makers is one that he didn't have. Sure. Actually, I had 2 games he didn't have. I sold him Mischief Makers and Mystical Ninja. And
you should have charged him more.
Yeah, well, I didn't sell them to him dirt cheap like they get a lot of their stuff.
You gave him the bro discount.
I did give him a bro discount on it, but But after I sold it, it kind of hurt a little bit to sell it, and then since then I had my eyes open for it, and I actually picked up the copy that I have now, probably just 6 months ago or so.
Okay.
So it's actually a reacquired copy, but still the other one's internet famous, so I guess it's worth it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And you guys want to move on to Crash?
Yeah. We didn't talk about did we talk about the music of this?
Oh,
Mischief Makers?
we did. Mischief Makers music. I like it.
Yeah.
It's a little. I think it's probably somewhat polarizing. Perhaps the music. I don't know. It's kind of this. It's hokey.
Yeah, hokey's probably pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of this weird hokey like melody.
It kind of is what and it is kind of early to mid 90s like anime look to it, where everything kind of had a wannabe kind of Robotech, and then Big-Eyed Child or whatever, the typical, like when anime was starting to come here and people were saying like, oh, okay, Pokemon, we're getting the arts. It's not a kind of niche thing, but yeah, nothing like the Studio Ghibli stuff, like Ni no Kuni type whatever. It's just kind of I don't know, just kind of their art style, but unique. And a 2D platformer, you don't have many of those. Real quick, 64. Any other good 2D platformers that are that are not first party?
The N64 is kind of starred for 2D platformers in general,
and it can run those great. Yeah,
yeah, it could. But I mean, really, the only first party Nintendo one that comes in. Yeah, there's Rayman. There's
but that's a 3D.
Is there?
Actually, they do say. I was thinking. Yeah, you're actually right.
Yeah,
are they all 3D? The Raymans that are on N64?
Yeah, there's only one, but yeah.
Yep.
I was thinking Rayman 2 was on N64, but I guess I'm just misremembering. No. But no, there's Mischief Makers. There's Yoshi's Story, which I already referenced.
Oh yeah. But that's first party. What's that? Is there a Chameleon one?
Yeah, there's Kid Chameleon 1 and 2, but I don't know that I would necessarily recommend either one of those, to somebody else. There's Gex 64, but I think it's 3D.
It is. Yep. I loved Gex
and
the old PlayStation.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think through the catalog. Nothing's really springing out to me, So there just aren't many of these. These weren't the cool thing at the time.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, it's just it's the way the era went. We'd rather have these wrapped polygon, weird shaped, blurry
even
messes.
On the PlayStation, the ones that came out that everybody considers to be these awesome games now, like Klonoa. They didn't sell for squat. That's why Klonoa costs $150 if you find it in the in the drill
crazy.
Which pro tip. Shane usually does that for us, but there are flash sales not infrequently on PSN where you can buy Klonoa for like $1.50.
Yeah,
or I have
you were saying
digital,
that last time.
Yeah, I have the digital version of Klonoa, and I think it was at 99 cents or $1.49 or something crazy.
It's a good deal.
That's the way to do it. Yeah. All right. That was our video game dad pick. What about our listener pick?
So that was Crash and the Boys from Ian, not Crash in the Game, Crash and the Boys.
Yeah.
Them boys.
And this is kind of an interesting game.
I never heard of this game before this. Never. Did you? Well, you guys are more Nintendo-y than me.
Yeah, I had certainly heard of it. And
never heard of this game.
This game, I always get confused with other games that are sort of like it. Things like Renegade or... even like Double Dragon and stuff, and for whatever reason, my brain, I think it's because of the art style. I want to lump it in, and
because it's like that Super Soccer and like a Retro City.
Well, sort of. It's a Technos game, and Technos made like those beat 'em ups and that sort of thing. So they use the same sort of art style for this. I think that's why my brain always wants to lump it together. But essentially, what this game is training wheels for gang activity.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. There's this
combined with like an Olympic feel.
Combined with breaking a controller.
Combined with some
head.
innocent Olympic fun. Yeah. There's this convoluted story that sort of happens at the beginning.
Might be my favorite part of the whole game.
Yeah. So I don't really understand. So Crash is like this tough dude.
He's from the South Side.
Yeah. And then there's like
that's funny. I live in the South Side.
Yeah.
It's not tough.
Well, I mean, seriously, they're talking about like which side of the city they live
Chicago.
in, and all this kind of stuff. But
so this kid Todd goes to his dad, and he's upset because Crash keeps beating him.
Yeah, Crash keeps beating him.
His dad just tells him to get back out there.
Yeah.
No, his dad tells him he's an embarrassment.
That's true.
I didn't raise a damn.
I didn't raise a kid that's going to get beat by this other kid.
Yeah.
You're an embarrassment to the family.
Yeah, get back out there.
And then they like hire a super team to compete against Crash and his boys.
Exactly. So you think that there's going to be some sort of street fight, or it's going to be like a brawler or something like that. But then all of a sudden, it kind of starts, and the first competition is the 400-yard dash.
Yeah, it's so
it just
weird.
throws you off.
It's like we're getting ready for this gang battle throwdown.
Exactly.
And then it's like,
wait a second, the Olympics are next week.
Yeah,
let's change our mind and do the Gang Olympics.
Yeah,
they should call this game Gang Nagano 98.
Challenge you to the hammer throw.
Yeah,
yeah.
Gang Atlanta 1996.
There was this whole subgenre of games on NES that were kind of like this.
Torino 04.
Where they were like Olympic event-ish, and they would have like 4 or 5 sort of half games, all hodgepodge together.
Like track and field,
cavemen.
But you knew what you were
like
getting in those. This one was just kind of like, hey, you want to see this really cool, tough movie with like Dangerous Minds, and then it turns out to be almost like a soap opera or something like that. Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. Like what I was expecting to what I got was like totally different.
Yeah, so it starts out, and it's actually a pretty well polished game. Like it starts out, it's got good graphics, and
it actually does have a story, which
a lot of NES games have a story. You know,
it's true.
It tried to develop a story.
Give
and
it its due.
Have characters, and the characters are all really well animated and have like some personality to them and that sort of thing. But you start out the game and like it just asks you, hey, you want to buy something, kind of thing. So you could buy power-ups in between the rounds for all these games. And the game is essentially a forced 4-player activity. So you can play with, or just by yourself, you can play with one buddy, you can play with 2 buddies, or you can play with 4 people. But regardless of the configuration, human versus computer, it's always a 4-person experience. So if you have 2 people, there's 2 human players and there's 2 computer players, and each one of these events is broken into a bracketed tournament essentially.
Exactly. Yep.
And this game is pretty awesome if you play it like against another human person, because the controls are completely different and all funky weird between each of the games.
Yeah.
And the computer is damn good. Like it is.
Yeah.
It is
cheap as heck. Is what it is, actually.
I mean, I never, especially like on the hurdles, I can't even figure out how to do some of the things the computer does, and it just absolutely destroys you.
Yeah, some of the games are extremely difficult. I think some are pretty easy, and then maybe there's 1 or 2 that. Yeah, so are kind of.
It feels like a terrible Mario Party. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely a prerequisite. Yeah, it came way before.
Well, in the types of there's where you're running track and hurdles, and then there's a
hammer throw, which is kind of like combining a hammer throw and golf.
Yeah, so there's a certain distance you have to throw the hammer, and it's whoever can throw it to the marker in the least number of throws is what you're going for.
Okay.
And then there is swimming,
which should be truly called drown your opponent.
Yeah,
because literally you're supposed to stuff the person at the bottom of the pool.
It really
until
is.
he runs out of oxygen.
Nice.
And then his health runs out.
Yeah, and then the health runs out.
What a great lesson.
Yeah.
So that was actually my favorite part of the game.
Yeah, so there's a level where you literally drown children.
Yeah,
but it's all good fun.
Yeah, it's all good fun. All in good fun, everybody.
Yeah,
Todd started it.
Yeah, Todd started it, and Crash totally deserved it.
Yeah,
but there's that. What else was?
And then there's like a beat 'em up type where you kind of just have this kind of street, like kind of one-on-one fight with your opponent, and that's okay.
I would have totally liked this game back in the day, though, when I was a kid, especially with friends and that type of thing. And basically you run through the levels, and then it's the end of the game, and it takes like 20-30 minutes.
That's why I said that's my only gripe is that you can play it in 30 minutes. It might take a few times to get down all the controls, but once you do get down those controls, you're probably going to want to either be playing against other friends. Yeah, it'd probably get kind of boring after a while against the computer.
Yeah, I think so, and I think probably the appeal of this game, at least back in the day, was or would have been, bragging rights on the school bus kind of thing. It's like, you think you're pretty good. Let's go play some Crash and the Boys. Well, this was a substitute for actual physical violence. This game,
and it kind of sounds like both our picks are kind of having to do with gang activity. Because what's another? Look at that gang over there. Those look like some mischief makers.
That's true. Both titles sound similar.
Yeah, I know, right? You would think that's about that. Like that's like the most PC. That sounds like the British version of a gang.
Mischief Makers comes from.
To be honest, it doesn't make sense.
They just like alliteration and like those words. It seems like a Japanese company picking American words that sound nice. That's kind of the whole thing. Like, yeah, Yeah, but that is what they are. Like I was saying, the British version of a gang. It would be those are the Mischief Makers from Monty Street. They'll cut you. They will. That was weird. I turned into like Southern whatever.
Yeah, that was like
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, that was like bad Australian pirate. I think you were Keith Richards there for just a second. Yeah.
Shiver me timbers. I'd buy that for. Oh, that's my Resident Evil voice, right?
Yeah.
Let me show you something. What else does he say?
Oh, I can't. What you buying? Yeah.
What are you buying?
What you selling? Yeah.
What are you selling? Oh gosh,
yeah.
I want to play that game right now.
Does the game go for like around $20? I believe
it's a little bit more. Than
Is it going for more now?
Yeah. So price starting has a loose cart listed at $33.52.
Okay. See, I actually got this a really long time ago, and I will never forget the time I got it because somebody had kind of a lot of games, had 2 or 3 systems. I remember that's where I got my first Dreamcast.
Cool.
And they only wanted $20 for this lot, and they had games for everything.
Okay.
But it was in a very bad neighborhood. And I remember I left work early, and I pull up to the house, and there's barbed wire on their chain link fence. And there are dogs out there barking extremely loud. I couldn't even get to the front door. And so
where did you do the deal?
This was in Raytown.
Yeah, no, I meant did they come out? You have to play like run.
Oh, no, they brought it outside. They brought it out past the fence because they asked me if I wanted to like come in, but I was like, no.
Well, no, yeah. You want to come in and have your leg taken off?
It's like one of my rules. It's not even a pro tip. Just don't go into random people's houses. I think that should just be pretty standard.
Oh, really?
But
well, I haven't been to a sketch house, I guess. So
I guess if you feel sketch, I don't like to go inside. I like them to bring it outside onto the porch for me. I just have a fear.
This reminds me of a pickup I did a while back. Because the first time I got Popful Mail was, this kind of scary-ish neighborhood or whatever. And the guy's like, yeah, I'll be at my house, whatever. And I was like, yeah, I'm just going to drive by. Do you mind, just meet me outside or whatever? And, for similar thing. And so the deal with this was I only wanted this one Sega CD game in the lot, Popful Mail.
Yep.
But he had this lot on like Craigslist, and it was like, and I'm not exaggerating, it was 88 Xbox games.
Oh, I remember this. You talked about it on the podcast.
Yeah, and one Popful Mail, but I don't think I described how I picked it up. So this guy, and he's this big burly guy, and so we drive up to the house, and I wait there for a couple minutes. I kind of text him, and he's like, "Well, I'll be out in a minute." And then he shows up, and he's holding like those giant like 80-gallon leaf like trash bags.
Oh yeah, I remember this. And story. It's a good story.
Yeah, he's like it's like double or triple, bagged or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just full of games.
Yeah.
So I actually drove over.
That's a dream.
Yeah, I drove to the rough part of town and picked up a giant trash bag full of games, including Popful Mail.
Yeah. So the lot that I got, it was by far the dirtiest games I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
Dirt on like every single game. I had to sit there with a Q-tip and go through all those creases.
Dirt doesn't destroy NES games, though. They love dirt.
I played my Crash. Played up fine. I remember I got that and Widget on NES, which is kind of rare. And they had like a few kind of tough to find games.
Was that based off the cartoon?
Yeah.
That little squid.
Yeah, it's an Atlas game. It's a really old Atlas game.
I used to watch Widget.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, it's rare. So I don't know what that's going for now, but
it was like kind of that 20 to 30 back then. I
think it's more than that now, but yeah, I don't know. But there's been some. There's been a couple of times where I've been like, I'm going to go down this road or whatever here and, tell my wife, like, you just keep driving around. I'll call you back if you don't hear from me in 15 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might call the law.
I have definitely called friends and told them if you don't hear back from me.
I'm not sure exactly where I'm walking into.
Whoa,
exactly.
Yeah. I just meet them at the old gas station.
Yeah, I pretty much, I don't do that kind of stuff anymore so much. Usually now it's like, we meet at the Quick Trip or whatever.
The police station, I heard, is a new thing.
Yeah, and a lot of the police stations actually have a designated spot outside the police station to get together to do your Craigslist deals.
Yeah. But see, the worst is
pro tip: don't get murdered. Do your Craigslist deals.
But here's the funny thing: they won't look at you because they'll just think it's innocent. If you do your actual drug deals in the Craigslist thing in the police office, you're really giving it to the man because they just think like, oh, they're just exchanging Tupperware or whatever. No, it's legit freaking crack.
Mm-hmm. See, my issue is when I get those good deals, when I see these great deals, and then I'm like, okay, where do you want to meet? And they're like, oh, don't have a car, or oh, don't have transportation.
I actually got questioned by a police officer at a Quick Trip doing a video game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
I have not had that happen.
Yeah, because I pulled up to the Quick Trip, and of course I The guy like pulls up over, you know, and I'm like opening my trunk and getting out a little baggie of stuff or whatever. Nice. I mean, I could totally see why they would think something, you know. He's like, hey, what's going on over there? And I'm like, just selling some games. I'm like, so I'm immediately like emptying the stuff. Like, look, it's just all video games.
You should have actually just been like, you need a warrant.
I should have been like, I have rights. Yeah, where's my? Give me my phone. I'm not talking to you.
Yeah, that would have went well.
No, but I was like, yes, officer, please come hither. Here are all these video games. That's all that's in here. Have a nice day, sir.
Would you like to buy my wares?
Yeah, yeah. I'll sell you some of these too if you want.
Oh man, that's funny. All right.
Well, yeah. So Crashing the Boys, I thought it was overall pretty good.
Yeah,
I mean, it definitely some of the controls are
there's a learning
goofy.
curve on this one.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And it could have been a little bit longer.
But. Yeah, this goes into I'm so old I don't want to learn how to play it. But back in the day, I'm sure a lot of I could totally see how, you know, if I would have rented it, this would have been just like I said, the randomness of me loving, you know, Dusty Diamonds or Operation Wolf has a lot to do with I played those dang games. Like did you guys ever play Operation Wolf?
Not until recently.
I did back in the day. I've only got snippets of memories.
Yeah, and you can't play with the gun, right?
No, well,
I don't think so.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I loved Operation Wolf the first time I saw it. But like looking at it now, or if someone would pick this for the video game book club, I'd be like, this isn't very good. Or maybe people also in the past wouldn't think it's very good. But when that was your first exposure to the game, and it was the older brother of your best friend playing it, and then you're like, whoa, I've never seen a game like this before. It's kind of like Rambo or whatever. I don't know. I really liked it.
You know what was the coolest game when we were kids? It
was hard as heck, though, without the Game Genie, FYI.
That just absolutely sucks.
What?
The coolest game that is just terrible.
Okay.
Top Gun.
Oh.
Top Gun on the NES.
Yeah, I never liked it.
You can't land on the stupid aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
My buddy can do it pretty well.
No,
I mean, not like
actually
every time,
you can.
But,
So
when you're a kid, though. You don't know.
So the problem is if you're looking at the screen trying to line it up, you're doing it wrong. If you just read the text and do what the text says, that's how you land.
Yeah.
So and it doesn't match what's happening on the screen. It'll say up, up, down, down. And your plane's like going to the right. So your brain wants to be like, oh, I need to steer back to the left. Nope, that's not what you do. You do what it tells you to do.
Yeah.
And that's how you land on the aircraft carrier.
And Top Gun was a question of the day. The beep beep. The Top Gun was like a high selling game. You could find that game freaking anywhere. That I think will forever be a $3 game.
Yeah, no, there's a second one too. That's just as common.
Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't know there was a Top Gun 2. Is it any better?
I'll tell you, the label looks like near identical. They use this
weird.
micro font, so it's probably like 6-point font to put like second mission right below it. But they have like almost the exact same label. You could like pass it up if you saw it.
That's super lame. But yeah, okay. I never played it, but it plays the same.
It's a little different.
A little
different. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. All right.
Is that nothing great?
Is that it for our two picks?
I think so. Yeah, we need to go on to pick them for the next episode now.
Okay, all right. So our next video game dad pick is going to be is going to be for the Nintendo 64, and I was going back and forth. And I'll let Shane. Did Shane already pick his?
No, he's not.
Okay.
Officially. I mean, you could totally steal his thunder, though, since he's not here.
Well, no, since I know what he's going to pick, so he'll be happy I didn't pick this one, I guess. Because he never picked one, right? You did Snowboard Kids too. Oh, okay. Well, no, but you picked Mischief Makers.
Correct.
Okay. So anyway, since it is my pick, I am going to go with Space Station Silicon Valley.
That's a good pick.
Yeah.
So I was going back and forth between this and one of the wrestling games because we got to pick one of the dang wrestling games. But everybody, I don't know. Most people who are in the know with wrestling games know that those Nintendo 64 wrestling games are amazing. But not everybody might know about Space Station Silicon Valley. And it is a weird game. It is a game that Adam just reminded me. And I remember you hear this. This is a good trivia thing. The publisher was a publisher that went by not a pseudonym, but a previous name before they turned into
Rockstar.
Yeah, Rockstar. The Rockstar that made Wild Metal for the Dreamcast. And then making Grand Theft Auto, of course.
Yeah.
And then Red Dead Redemption, L.A. Noire, which I just picked up on PS4 real cheap. It was like $20, $18 Best Buy. Or it still is maybe right now. Nice. Just FYI. But anyway, yeah, I don't even want to go into it yet. It's just a super friggin' weird game. There's not really a game like it. It is also a game that I've only put a little bit of time into.
Okay.
Anybody know price-wise what this game goes for?
I think it's relatively cheap. I think it's about a $10 game.
I think it's actually around the 20.
Is it? Has it
Yeah.
gone up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because my wife.
I recently just happened to pick it up complete in box, so I did happen to see it's up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, wife bought it for me a year or two ago, and it was like I had 22, 28, something like that. So I guess it's gone down. But Nintendo 64. It went up a lot. It's kind of spiked a year ago.
Yeah.
I think,
Mm-hmm.
and it had to go down because it's the fog machine. I think I think
it'll pump up again once they talk about that N64 Classic or whatever they're going to come out with. It'll pop it again, I bet.
Is there new news about that?
No,
I just assume when you
official.
keep making money like this, hand over fist, I
it's
figure
coming.
they'll keep the ball rolling.
Really?
You know?
Okay. We talked about that a while, and then we kind of dropped it when they didn't. So I would love to see
But
that.
nothing official. I'm just assuming.
Do you realize, though, a lot of people, at least I think, like this SNES Classic, while we're talking about it, it was a big, stupid thing back in November or October, whatever the heck it was. And then Reggie Fils-Aimé said there would be a bunch of them around Christmas. And what do you know? There weren't. And every once in a while I see something pops up, and they pop up and they're really quickly sold out. But I don't see the internet going crazy anymore. I think most people who got one. The stupid freaking people who bought like 50 of them, the scalpers, got those. And like, I don't know, I feel like the SNES Classic especially was one of those, like, it came out, there was a huge frenzy. I don't know. I played mine. Did you guys play yours?
Oh yeah, I still play mine.
Yeah.
I have just about every single game on there,
Sure.
so I kind of just...
Yeah, I know.
I keep mine in my box.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope the 64 one comes out, but I also feel like the lasting appeal of the SNES one, when they said it was going to be super prevalent and then it wasn't, I'm like, okay, are you guys really seriously going to keep making them? Because you promised you would make them like amiibos or something where they would be really easily found, and then they're like, just kidding, we never said that. It's like, gee, Merry Christmas. Anyway, Space Station Silicon Valley is going to be my pick for the Nintendo 64. Pick it up if you haven't. Cool, eclectic, definitely great collector game. We'll talk about it next time. I'm kind of excited about that. And then our video game listener pick for our book club. We're going to put it in a randomizer right now. And remember, send your submissions into videogamedads@yahoo.com or any of our social media. Facebook, of course, facebook.com/videogamedads as well. Include a little spiel about what game you're submitting and why you're submitting it. Adam, what do we got?
We have Splatterhouse 2.
Oh.
For the Genesis.
Nice. All right, and I don't know the Splatterhouse lore. I know the game. I know of it and the genre, and I've played a few of them. I don't know. Is 2 like the good one?
I think they're all considered to be pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and this came from our listener, Lee, by the way.
Okay, thank you, Lee.
But I think they're all pretty, generally thought of, relatively highly.
Okay. There's not like a bad one in the bunch?
They're all pretty similar. They kind of,
Yeah.
if it's not broke, don't fix it kind of a thing with the whole series.
I've always thought of it. I mean, part of the quote-unquote appeal of Splatterhouse, or the Splatterhouse games, I think if you want to consider it appeal, is that back in the day, the Splatterhouse games were some of the ones that, like, the guys in Congress would point at as being like, games are ruining society.
Yeah.
And then they would point at, like, Splatterhouse kind of as one of those games.
Was this carried at, like, Blockbuster and things back in the day?
I think so. I mean,
Okay.
it was available. I mean, I remember...
I just never
I don't remember the game at all.
I
right.
remember knowing people at school who had it on Sega, back
and they were the kids
day.
that like smoked first.
Yeah. They were the kids whose parents bought them beer when they were 9.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember the first time I played it was actually on a Dreamcast emulator where you could pick all of these like Genesis games. I went through in a Splatterhouse. I was like, this is a really freaking weird name. And I started playing it. I was just transfixed. The scenes, it felt like it was that cool like early 90s kind of like, Resident Evil just came out, like The Crow. Do you guys remember that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That movie holds up still. That movie is like a haunting, weird early 90s like kick you in the teeth movie. I really like it. And
The
of course,
Crow is such a
sad.
weird movie though. Like, it's really polar because I don't like The Crow at all. I didn't like it back in the day.
Okay.
But I totally get how people can like it.
Yeah.
But it's like you're talking about. People either really, really like that movie or really, really don't. And there's not really anything in the middle.
Yeah, and it's still, when I rewatch it, I just think, like, gosh, there's nothing like it, and it feels so 90s. No one's going to make a movie like this again. Like, all the kind of retro-y, like, Bullet the Hell, the one, the chainsaw girl that has the, like, 40 caliber on her foot, the Tarantino, this and that. The Crow was this weird outlier that it wasn't self-aware. It took itself really seriously. It had kind of a Batman meets like what's like a really mature content movie. It's just it's a bizarre movie, but it had like superhero fantasy elements to it. I mean, things like that.
And this blends right into that whole time and place and that sort of thing that was kind of a deal in the mid to late 90s.
Yeah, like the Spawn movie. Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Exactly. Spawn movie, and I've always thought of Splatterhouse as being sort of tied loosely to the horror genre of movies, just sort of like you're talking about a horror or action type movies. I mean, and even
but it's not a scary game.
Well,
it's just gory. It's not scary at all.
Well, it's not even that gory. I mean, I have Splatterhouse on the TurboGrafx. Yeah, and it's not really gory at all. I mean, or not really any more than a lot of other contemporary games at the same time. It's definitely not as quote unquote bloody or gory as like Mortal Kombat would have been back in the day.
Yeah, I think Mortal Kombat looked more realistic with the characters and everything, which made it give it a more realistic feel. Where this is a little bit more cartoony.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just so cartoony and that sort of thing. Like, it really doesn't feel like it's any more morose than a lot of the Looney Tunes cartoons, from back in the day.
True.
Or whatever. But I mean, the main character is clearly meant to look like Jason Voorhees. And if
meets Bane,
sort of, if they would have just called this Friday the 13th the game, I think it actually would have been. I can say this because Shane isn't here. This would have been a far superior version of Friday the 13th. As a video game to the one that we actually got.
Yeah, we should probably stop talking about it now.
Yeah, we probably should. Save for the next podcast.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, that's our video game book club picks. We have Splatterhouse 2 for the for the Genesis. God, Sega. Yeah, we're moving away from the Nintendo. And then we have the Nintendo 64 pick. My pick, Space Station Silicon Valley. It's a mouthful. That one probably. God, that name. I love the name, but totally wasn't helping that game sell, I'm sure.
Definitely not.
Yeah, but anyway, those are our video game book club picks for next episode. All right, guys. So, this is a video game podcast. What have you guys been playing? Been playing anything? I play a little, not a whole lot, because, life, kids, marriage, love, your favorite TV show.
I got a fair amount playing in the last couple of weeks. I think since the last time we recorded, I've primarily been playing PSP.
Nice.
I've gone old school. So I was playing Luminous. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Luminous, yeah.
Yeah, Luminous 2.
Yeah, it's great.
Luminous Dose, great game.
Great.
I had Luminous 1. I recently picked up Luminous 2, and it's more of the same but better, more options and whatnots. But cheap game, super good, kind of addictive. You start seeing those little shapes in your brain while you're sleeping.
Yeah. The quick Reader's Digest version, it's a little puzzler that is a music rhythm game where basically it's like a not a fax machine, a scanner, like an old school scanner. Think of it that way, from left to right, and you basically have to like create a shape as the scanner. I tried to describe this, and halfway through I realized like this isn't going to translate. It's an interesting puzzler that has music involved.
To describe it.
Yeah, I give up.
It's sort of a match colors game to sort of music, kind of with the metronome sort of thing that clears lines as you go. But
there you go. You guys got that?
Yeah, exactly. But it's
my fault for trying to describe something
it's hard to
indescribable.
describe. It really is. But it's a good game, and also cheap. I played that. I played the Power Stone Collection some.
Okay.
Which would have been much more enjoyable actually, probably playing with another person, but still a lot of fun. And it's legit. I mean, it plays pretty much like the Dreamcast version does. So happy to do that. And so I played both of those a fair amount, and then also Lunar Silver Star Harmony is the other game that I played.
Nice. Sounds like you just threw some words together. What's that game?
That it's a JRPG.
Nice.
It's the third remake of Lunar the Silver Star.
Cool.
So there's a Sega CD version. There's the PlayStation 1 remake, remaster, re-release, whatever you want to call it, and then this one, which is kind of a whole new thing-ish sort of thing, like new skin.
So someone that like me, I don't know, not good with the JRPGs. What's the kind of thing with the Lunar series that makes it a little different from the other JRPGs, like a Final Fantasy or a?
It's actually, I mean, it's. I don't want to use the word run of the mill, but it is kind of a standard-ish, RPG.
Okay.
It's turn-based.
Gotcha. It's a Toyota of the
it's
old.
I mean, it's.
You're not going to wow the neighbors, but you're also not going to be broken down the side of the road.
Yeah, it's not tremendously different than a lot of the others. I mean, you have usually have like same deal. You have a character that's sort of your strength combat type person.
Gotcha.
You got one that's kind of a warrior type, and then you got like your mage type. They're not really called that, but
I like that word. Sorry,
but no, I mean it's pretty standard. It's pretty standard fare. It's just well done, But you get into all the nuance with all the battle systems and that sort of stuff, and it gets over my head, and
we're not like that. Yeah, we're not gonna.
Well, and my favorite RPGs actually have more action oriented. System.
Same here. They're called action games. I call them. You know what I mean? Like,
no, they're still
my
RPGs.
JRPGs are just not even a JRPG. They're so not. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, no. Things like Grandia 2, things like Skies of Arcadia.
Yeah.
That have some button mashing, action elements to them. Like the Tales games are that way.
Yeah, I've heard that about the Tales games. That's like if I was like gonna play one.
If you're not into RPGs and you kind of want to get into RPGs, or at least maybe play a few, get sort of the flavor of it.
Yeah,
the Tales games are a really good place to start. Goonie games are kind of the same way too.
Yeah, ease yourself into it.
Yeah, they're not just overly overwhelming with here's 8,000 different character classes. And, all this kind of because there are some RPG games like
give me an RPG that's like the basic version of lighting a spoon and injecting straight in your vein. That's a little too hardcore.
Some of the tactics games can get that way where they can get really, really in depth. But the one that comes to mind, this Gaia 5, the complete collection. I have it on Switch, and that game can get really complicated, really over your head.
What's a Persona fall under? Was Persona?
It kind of depends on that. That's they're all part of the Shin Megami Tensei series, and it's a very diverse set of games.
Yeah.
So that's hard to answer. Kind of. Some of them are pretty traditional, some of them aren't.
Okay. All right.
But
so played a little JRPG. That's nice.
Yeah. So that was it. I mean that was it for those. I've actually been playing Perfect Dark on the N64, and I've made it. I'm probably about halfway through the single player campaign on it again.
That's cool.
Using my new controller.
Cool.
So I've actually been really enjoying it.
Yeah. Electronic Playground. I sent you guys a quick link. That was the old video game, basically like news TV show that's still on YouTube. Anyway, we talk about it later. But anyway, they have like the whole season episodes from like 1997. One of them was a developer interview, and then with Perfect Dark. And they kind of talked about the whole like a super interesting story that has like Norm or any of the other guys who do those kind of weird not weird, sorry, but those long length like documentaries into video games. I think like Perfect Dark has a really interesting story about how it works, how it came together, how it was the original team from GoldenEye and what they did in order to make it. Anyway, there's an interesting story behind the making of Perfect Dark for 64 that like.
Yeah, but I mean,
didn't they lose? Didn't Rare lose the bid for the future GoldenEye games? That's why they went on to do Perfect Dark.
Yeah,
exactly.
Went to EA.
And the amount of power or what they were able to do with that and harness and like. That's why they needed the extra expansion card. Yeah, it takes it to another level. And I then moved on to the other systems by the time because the Dreamcast came out a year before the Perfect Dark came out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been playing that and spent a good amount of time on it. And then the other game that I've spent some time with is Metroid Prime, the first one.
Oh, nice.
And I played about a third of the way back through it. And that game, I don't know. There's at this point, it's kind of part of my DNA or somewhere down in like the part of your brain that makes you stand up.
That's
right
one of your
like,
go-to games.
It is, yeah.
Cool.
And so I really like it. I play it. You get into sort of a flow and a groove, and you kind of, you know. And I've played it enough at this point that I can kind of remember where all the power-ups are and you know, how to get here and there and how to defeat all the bosses relatively quickly.
You play it on the GameCube?
Yeah.
Not the Wii?
Yeah, I'm playing it on the GameCube with the GameCube controller. And I've actually been playing on a 4K television with that new Eon HDMI adapter. Mm-hmm. And it actually looks pretty.
Nice.
Yeah, and progressive scan. I mean, it's still, I think the resolution on it's like 648 or something like that, but it looks really good and it plays really good on an HD with that
cool.
with that little doohickey add-on that I have for it. So that's really been the bulk of what I've been doing. I think my intention probably here over the next month or two is to get down on some Neo Geo stuff here before too long. But but that's where I've been.
Nice. Pretty diverse. My game playing was like it's really just two things. PSVR. Mm-hmm. I feel like I've played some Switch and I played some N-Gage, but just to like test out a couple games, I'm still on this weird N-Gage kick. I love trying to grab something nobody's talking about or nobody's thinking about. I, of course, did it way too late. We talked about this earlier. Like N-Gage games were like $3 at GameStop 10 years ago, 11, 12 years ago, like 2005, 6, when they were just clearancing them out. And that's when I should have picked them up. But I did that with the Virtual Boy. I was smart enough to pick those up at Blockbuster in the bargain bins. I wasn't smart enough to pick up 20 of them because no one thought about that back in the day. I just one of each is enough. What an idiot. That's not how collectors think. I need 7 of them. But the only other game I really played this week was what I played last night, and I played way too late into the night. But, you know, I was one of those, I'm just going to do this. I'm going to commit. I have a long day at work. I've been working hard. I'm just going to play a video game for way too long, up until 1 or 2 a.m. because I can. And that
like
was
my life.
Far Cry 5.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
You enjoying that?
Yeah, so I played that last night, and my history of Far Cry is I really like 3, I really like 4, didn't play Primal, and then they took a year off Primal, so I haven't played one in like over 2 years, which is good because that's the time I needed off from this.
Yeah.
That being said, this game is very good, folks.
That's good to hear.
The original premise of it now kind of being in a U.S. town. Far Cry is an open world, first person action game. It's very open world. It could be overwhelming for a lot of people. There's hunting. There's hunting and you can hunt down people. The stories are always really interesting. The graphics are really good. This one takes place in Montana. This has a weird cultish vibe to it, but the protagonists, Far Cry games do their protagonists really, really well, and this one does not disappoint. And it oversells the main guy, and I haven't even gotten to it, so I ended up putting 4 hours into it all told yesterday, and I don't know when I'm gonna be able to play it again, but I'm thinking about it a lot. Here's my sell for it. It's different than the other Far Cry games. Okay, if you don't like an open world exploration action game, you're not going to like this because that's what this is. But it tweaks just about every system. The whole world is opened up from the beginning. Thank God. That is what I wanted out of a Far Cry game. Most of the time when you play
you don't unlock the towers. It's not that.
You don't unlock towers.
You know how I can open up the map and the whole.
And those were really good, but those are so overdone that there is still some climbing. There's some stuff like that, but
small puzzle things.
Yeah, but even the animals, right? Animals have been a big thing. They even turned Primal into mainly an animal hunting game, and you can course them to whatever. And that's been, again, they've been great games. I just think they were turning into Assassin's Creed type games. This one, there's actually not much hunting. There's not many animals there. I mean, there are animals there, but they feel like natural animals. Like when you see a deer, I'm just thinking like, oh, I could just run up to the deer. He'll start to run. I chase him. But like, no, it's a freaking deer. If it sees you, it books it. You lost your shot. And I felt like, oh, that was what a hunter feels like. A little bit more legitimate. But the protagonists, the enemies, again, the way the map is laid out, there's also planes everywhere. It's also hard.
Is it?
It's pretty difficult. Like, if you go up to a guy and he has a better gun than you, for whatever reason in Far Cry games, I felt like you can just outsmart him and run away. But I think they make it more powerful. If you happen to run up to a guy, you actually got to notice what kind of gun he has from a distance, because he could eat you alive pretty quickly and kill you. I was killed probably 10, 15 times, which in the old school, the other Far Cry 3, Far Cry 4, I wasn't. But anyway, I really like this game. It's a great game to get into if you haven't played any of them, because Far Cry games, you don't have to have continuity of story or anything like that. But the whole map is opened up. The protagonists are good. The writing looks good. The premise, the mountains, the terrain all feel different. The other Far Cry games always felt a little similar. This one, the terrain, the layout, how you can get from place to place feels different. It feels like enough of a difference that I think whatever Assassin's Creed Origins, a lot of people are saying that's the same.
Well, I'm excited. I'm off in a couple days, so that's when I'm going to pick it up so I can give myself like 3 or 4 hours.
I'm going to be playing a game that another video game dad is playing.
Right.
That's what I want. Like this.
That's awesome. I'm going to keep doing my normal thing. I'm going to like stay over here, wait till it's like $5,
and then not play it. I'm still waiting for you to play Wolfenstein. This game was so good, you guys.
I'll play it eventually. I've got.
I'm with that.
I want to do a book club of a modern game because
I've got a bit.
We
of
don't
a
talk
backlog.
about modern games we've all played. I don't know. I digress.
So I've got a little bit of a backlog.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. All right, Michael. What have you been playing?
Well, I kind of like been actually I got kind of fortunate. I was over at a friend's house who travels for work a lot, and he gave me actually his PSVR to borrow for almost a year. So I hooked that up a few days ago, and I've been just trying out different games. I was kind of telling you guys earlier, I tried out that Valkyrie.
Valkyrie, the shooter.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I was told it was kind of like Star Fox.
Who told you that?
the guy who's
never
like,
played
in a
Star
ship,
Fox.
and I don't know. Yeah, other than being in a spaceship, that's about it. But I got a little bit nauseous, so we had to put that one down. But I hear that's kind of common with that game. So
yeah, that's like saying a roller coaster is like getting to second base or something. Like your heart rate accelerates, but that's not at all the thing. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I've been just kind of messing with that. Played the Rush of Blood and some. Of the demo
how'd you like Rush of Blood?
I really like that. That's probably my favorite I played so far. I'm gonna put some time in for that.
It's pretty awesome. It doesn't have a tremendous amount of replay value, but what it does really well.
For that like first time playing, it really
gets you.
Yeah, it really got me. So he had a bunch of other games like that Resident Evil game, so I'm excited to try that one out.
Oh, good for you. I'm too scared.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm way too scared to play that
I
game.
could see that after the Rush of Blood, how that could be quite frightening. Yeah.
Well, actually, yeah. I think they're in a different story.
Yeah, I have played some of it, and it's
a little bit of jump scares. And
well, there are the jump scares and everything else, but really the thing about it that's the most I don't know if nerve-wracking is the word or whatever. Everything is really close to you.
The atmosphere of that game.
It's a very, very
unnerving.
claustrophobic-y kind of game. Like every time you're in a place or like the rooms are kind of small and things are just you just feel like everything is inside your personal space, and it's meant to do that on purpose, to build the suspense or whatever. But at least for me, I always just felt like, there was always just even the inanimate objects and everything else. You just sort of felt closed in and like you weren't going to be able to get away from anything.
Sure.
And things just happen really close to you.
Gotcha.
Obviously much more so than a non-VR Resident Evil game.
I feel like if Rush of Blood was like Scream or something, or Friday the 13th, Resident Evil 7 is totally Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, and
where it's like I'm getting goosebumps. I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm looking over my shoulder. I'm freaking out.
Yeah, that's the thing. You just feel like something really bad is really close to you.
The mannequin thing.
Yeah.
I watched that demo. I'm done. So like you enter a room, an attic full of mannequins, just standing there.
Yeah.
And then you turn your head, and then all of a sudden the mannequin that was 2 feet behind you is now 6 inches behind you. Nothing else happens. Then you walk forward and you turn again. The mannequins move, but not when you can see them.
Right.
And that's when I hit the power button and I go and eat a Pop-Tart or something. And I freaking, okay.
That's the one thing about the PSVR that I was kind of amazed with is how like immersed you get into it.
Oh, yeah.
Not only with just visually, which it's tough to even imagine until you put it on, but really the audio too, the way they're able to make effects come from all different angles, and it's very cool.
I was actually thinking the other day, the games that I'm kind of surprised, well, maybe not surprised, but that they haven't even talked about it would make perfect sense if they re-released the Dead Space trilogy, reformatted or redone for VR. They'd be a perfect fit, and maybe they have on PC. I'm not sure. I've actually been toying with the idea because my gaming laptop is actually VR compatible too.
Oh, cool.
And so I've kind of I'm going to wait for the price to come down, but I think eventually I'll probably get an HTC Vive, to plug into the laptop to do, because there's like a gazillion.
I hear that's the one to do. Although the other one, what's the other headset? The Oculus.
Yeah, the Oculus.
I hear the Oculus's new controllers, though, are pretty good rivals.
Yeah, well, and HTC Vive, they just released the HTC. I think it actually just came out. I'm not 100% sure on this, but there's the HTC Vive Pro now.
Okay.
So the regular one's gone down in price.
Oh,
and
cool.
so the newer versions of these things are coming out, meaning that the older ones are going to get cheap.
Nice.
Cool.
So. Well, a couple other games I played. I recently had gotten a Turbo Graphics system from Adam, which I appreciate. And so I had to get a few games for it. So I just kind of went ahead and went on eBay, which I typically don't do, but I just
for the Turbo Graphics.
I was going to say, I knew I wasn't going to find this, so I ended up picking up a Bonk's Adventure, just because I'm a huge platformer guy. So, and I actually really enjoyed it. I kind of want to now get the Bonk's Revenge. To see what that's all about, but I had never played it before.
Cheap game.
Yeah, not
it's
super
not
cheap.
super expensive.
It's cheaper than a new game, like a new PlayStation game. I think it's like $50 or something. Like that.
I thought you were talking about the Bonks for NES.
Oh no, for the Turbo Graphics.
Don't get the Bonks for the NES.
Unfortunately, I don't have that. I wish I did. But yeah. So I'll have to settle for the Turbo Graphics version. But no, I enjoyed it. The whole diving and dive
superior. You're getting the superior version.
Yeah. No, that's what I've been told too. So.
And that was the one I remember, like, few images ingrained in my head of going to the store back in the day and remember the Turbo Graphics. But I just remember like a couple games, and that was that JJ and Jeff and Bonk's Revenge, and then a whole bunch of other games where I was like, I don't see commercials for this. I don't know what this is. I'm a dumb kid.
I remember being just dumbfounded by Bonk's back in the day. They used to have Game Pro TV on Saturday morning.
I don't know,
And J.D. Roth, the guy that did like Double Dare or not Double Dare, but he did one of those Nickelodeon shows with the slime. But in any respect, he hosted Game Pro
Clarissa
television.
Tells It All. I'm just kidding.
And they used to cover a lot of TurboGrafx games on there. I think because Sega and Nintendo embargoed a lot of games and said wouldn't let people show them on television.
Mm-hmm. But not Nintendo.
But they, I think Sega did too. But to some extent, but they. But they actually covered a lot of TurboGrafx. I remember being like, "Well, there's this other system," and it's like, and I remember thinking Bonks looked awesome. And from that point forward, I wanted a TurboGrafx really bad, but I didn't even know where to get one.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing about it at all as a kid.
But no, those are all good. So
cool. That's what we've been playing. All right. Yep. Well, why don't we talk about our little next segment? This is where we shout out a little handhelds, huh? Do you think it's time for our
handheld
holla? Coming at you. Our handheld holla is a segment where us video game dads talk about our handheld pocket picks. All right, what else do we say? Pocket. There's some.
I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we were just shouting out some handheld games because that often gets overlooked in the retro community because everybody likes their big TVs. But we were kids at one time, and these things are still great portable systems and play a whole lot better than your phone because your phone doesn't have these things called buttons that really take good input.
I still refuse to play iPhone games. Won't do it.
Yeah, because you're not a beep. Yeah. You know how to really play a game, right? Anyway, so again, these are just little shout outs of games that we enjoy and that if you see them, most of the time they're cheap because handheld games and some of them can be blown up to your TV. We'll just go around the room. Let's start with Michael. Michael, what do you got for our handheld holla shout-out game that you recommend to our listeners?
All right, my game is for the original Game Boy. It's TMNT Fall of the Foot Clan.
Good choice.
Kind of a classic game.
I'm so happy you picked that. You gave me a little. I want to give you a little twinkle. Yeah,
nice.
I really like that game.
Yeah, so it's it's kind of a side-scrolling kind of, I don't want to call it beat 'em up, but it's more of like a hack and slash. A lot of times, you can choose your turtle.
Side-scrolling action game.
Yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
Where you just kind of have those enemies keep coming at you.
Simple graphics.
Yep, very simple graphics.
Easy to find and cheap.
100% better than
like $7 or $8 maybe.
I've got mine CIB.
Yeah, mine's loose, sad in the bottom of a bag.
Hey, well, you know what? Either way, it's still a great game. I bet you I've beaten that game more than any other game I've ever played in my life. It
really?
was my first game I've ever got. I got the Game Boy for $100 with Tetris, and I got Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan, and I would beat that over and over and over. And every time I play it, even as an adult, when I pop it in, I'm like, meh, I'm just going to beat it.
Right.
Shredder, the sprites look amazing. I will say probably if you don't, I still remember where the enemies come from and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's one of the few games that I could not play for 5 years, which sometimes I go that long, and then when I pick it up, I can still remember. I'm getting excited just talking about it right now. I'm so glad you picked this game.
No, it's a fun game. It's not super difficult or anything like that.
Yeah.
No, it's just really enjoyable.
Yeah, the second and third have probably better graphics,
but
just not as fun. It's kind of arcadey too. It feels arcadey.
I actually don't have the second and third one, so I've never really played those.
Back
so
to the
really
Sewers and Radical Rescue. Radical Rescue is a little more expensive. The sprites are smaller, so I don't think it looks as good. It's a better game. It almost plays like a Bionic Commando. And the second one is one of the best looking games. It even has voice like in the middle. It's a piece of time, but it says it like it's like chunky, like weird electronic noise. But the fact that my Game Boy said a voice, it blew me away. But back to the Sewers is a really good looking game. Doesn't play as well as the first though.
Yeah, I mean you can tell like which turtle you are and like they have real like enemies from the shows and stuff like that. So that was kind of a nice feature where a lot of games that were kind of dumbed down, they kind of look blocky and you couldn't really tell.
And I love there's a level where you're underwater randomly, and I mean they don't swim, they just continue to walk underwater and they give the underwater effect, but you don't drown. And as a kid, I even realized that. Yeah, but they don't even mention it. It's like they don't hold your hand; you're just under there. And I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, they don't drown because they're a turtle. And I remember thinking as a kid like, this is so cool. I've never even thought about this because you always water is death in a video game, right? Yeah. But anyway, all right. So great pick. Follow the Foot Clan. It's $7 game. Yeah, if
exactly.
That. Yeah, great game. Great title. Konami game. Or Ultra game. Sorry, but same thing. Ultra is Konami. Yeah. Okay. Adam.
All right. So I already mentioned the game that I'm gonna pick, and that's Lunar Silver Star Harmony.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So back to the BSP. I've already kind of belabored it to some extent, but it's not a super expensive game. I think it's about $15. I think if you could find it.
Cool.
But it's again a good entry point for kind of a traditional-ish, Japanese RPG kind of game.
Nice.
And if you've ever played like Golden Sun on Game Boy or
very highly regarded
that kind of thing, it's very. I mean, it's pretty similar to that kind of thing. If you like that kind of game, you'll like this.
Cool.
Nice.
Mine will be just as quick because I talked about it last week. I alluded to it because you reminded me of it, Michael, when you picked it up. It's Batman Returns for the Game Gear. One of my top 5 games for the Game Gear. Really good game. I love watching. I will randomly watch a YouTube playthrough of someone playing it blind. And they're thinking it's going to be bad, and they're expecting to do a commentary of a bad game or something, or just like, this is, and they always, even if they're most cynical a-hole, like this game actually is pretty good, or they'll even get a little bit more complimentary as the game goes through. It should definitely be considered one of the best Batman games pre the modern era or something like that.
It's your favorite Game Gear one, right?
Yeah, it's easily a favorite Game Gear one.
3 or 4 of them.
There's 3, and the other 2 are just not good. Batman Returns and the other one, the Batman Animated Series one is okay, but the the Genesis version is better. But it is, I think it's better than Batman NES. And as an old school Batman game, now Batman for the Game Boy is very good, and Batman Return for the Joker for the Game Boy is very good. This one. The color, the graphics, the snow. There's a lot of like little Easter eggy type things. Just the sound. It captures the movie really well, better than most games. So Batman Returns for the Game Gear is my handheld holo pick. All right, guys, I think it's time for our pickups. This is where we talk about some of our video game pickups that we've picked up. I will say. We're going to save the best for last. This is probably definitely our biggest, most epic, most awesomest pickup Adam has. So I will give my porridge pittance of a pickup first. And Adam's got a great pickup that alludes to a great video. I'll let him tell you. I don't want to say too much. It's too exciting. But my pickups are pretty small. I got a couple PS4 games. Fractured Butthole.
Nice.
That was like $16.99. LA Noire, the Assassin's Creed Origins, all those got down to the $20 mark, which was my like, hey, yeah, let's play it. Even though I don't have time for Far Cry, I'm going to be a collector and put it on a shelf for me to play when after this lifetime.
I was going to get the South Park game for PS4, but I'm going to do the smart thing, hold out for the Switch version, and spend 4 times as much money.
Yeah. Hey. That's
take it on the go.
Yeah,
that's
exactly. Right. That's the tax. Oh yeah, we were still gonna do a lick a cartridge theme. We'll have to do that next time.
I already know what they taste like because
I do not. But
well, no. Here's what happens. So like my kid, because he has a Switch, I have a Switch, so he'll be like, here, and he'll hand me a game, and I'll be switching out his games or whatever. So I inadvertently always like put it in the corner of my mouth, like between my lips, to hold it because my hands are busy.
Okay,
gotcha.
And then I'll fix his stuff, and then sometime later, I'll like lick my lips, and it'll, taste like the cartridge.
Yeah.
And they are. I can confirm they're disgusting.
Yeah. So Nintendo puts a specific chemical on them that is the most bitter chemical, like times 38,000 or whatever.
That is safe for humans.
That's safe for humans. Sure. But the funny thing is, they don't do that with Vita games. They don't do that with N-Gage games. They just decide Nintendo did it, but they do spray it with something.
That's because Nintendo cares.
Yeah, they do care. They care. But anyway, one of these days, all 3 of us are going to do it like a shot. We're all going to lick a different cartridge, and that's going to happen next episode.
We're not licking the same cartridge. I can.
Yeah, actually, at the same time, that'd be fun. That'd be a nice picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that. I just like making Adam feel uncomfortable. Adam and I played a Switch game where we had to look each other in the eye for like 15 solid seconds.
That was unbearably uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's the longest Adam's looked anybody in the eye before, and probably me too, or any grown man.
Yeah, you don't ever look at anybody in the eye for 15 seconds.
Yeah, especially while you're not saying anything.
Yeah, not
because the only time you do that is when you're a teenager, but when you're about to kiss someone, right?
That's right. Or either you're getting ready to kiss somebody, or you're getting ready to shank them.
How many shanking kids? We're Alcatraz
no.
high school.
I'm talking about adults. I'm not talking about as kids. Yeah,
the mean mug is what I call it.
Adult men should not stare at people in the eyes.
I got you.
Yeah.
I like that.
Anytime you make eye contact, you look down like a normal person.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I was also going to say that Fractured Butthole. I actually just downloaded. They have a DLC, the Casa Bonita DLC.
Oh, nice!
Yeah,
I've heard about that.
Casa Bonita in the game.
I used to love Casa Bonita.
Oh man, it's a real place, right, in Denver.
They had them in Tulsa when I was a kid.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I used to love it. You would go.
I forced my brother to go.
They had like an arcade thing, and the whole place on the inside was built like this little like Mexican village, and there are like little caves and things you can go through.
Oh, I went as an adult.
Oh no, it was fantastic. I used to beg to go. So they had Casa Bonita, and I mean, from like 5 to like, I don't know, 13 or 14. My favorite place on the planet was Casa Bonita.
More soap appeals, please.
And no, I would always get the nachos. They had this huge pile of nachos. It was like the size of my torso.
Yeah.
And I would just gorge myself with these stupid nachos.
Yeah.
And then they did a little puppet show on one side, and had a little caves, and like the chairs and things were for your dining or like intermixed with all, so we would just like run around the restaurant like playing with stuff the whole time. It's just chaos.
Yep.
And I would totally not want to eat there as an adult. I mean, thinking back on it, it's like a disgusting, horrible place. But just loved it. And they had a place called Crystal Pizza that was there in Tulsa before that. That's literally one of my very first memories. Was holding my parents' hands walking into Crystal's Pizza, which again was a arcadey kind of themed thing, just like that. But Casa Bonita was the bomb.com. Yeah, not just made up for a cartoon.
Really wow. Cool. You guys had it better than us because my favorite place was like the Olive Garden. I thought that was like super fancy. That was my Casa Bonita, was the Olive Garden.
Mine was Showbiz Pizza.
Yeah, nice.
Turned into Chuck E. Cheese.
I lied. Yeah, that was like kind of like when I graduated past Showbiz Pizza. It was like Olive Garden was like really nice. All the breadsticks they bring you. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, Showbiz Pizza. That documentary out there about the funky band or whatever, those crazy animatronic things. There's a really great
bears. You mean like
there's a really great documentary out there about this guy who like restores them and finds them, and when you find them, they're all melted because all the faces have like fallen off just due to age because they weren't the latex and materials they were made. So this guy's like puts them back together, and he finds it. And then they found like a set of them unused, still in the crate, in like a warehouse in New York City. Not a warehouse, like it was in New York, and it was a building that was like shut, whatever, and it was storage. And literally for like 25 years, they were just inside a building, just sitting there. And even when they opened them, you know, they were falling apart, but they were never used or something. And they were trying to figure out a value for them. I don't know. It's a really cool documentary. Check it out if you're into that kind of thing. Train of thought derailed. What were we talking about? Pickups. Pickups. All right. I've got one really cool pickup. At least I think it's cool. As some of you might know, I'm a big PlayStation 3 fan. Out of all the PlayStations, I just really like that system. It's HDMI system. I really like the library. I went for the complete set. I now have the complete North American library of the PlayStation 3. None of your friends ever will. None of your friends ever care. It's only a small group of us collectors out there that... It doesn't bring in the ladies, and it doesn't like the NES and all the Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, boy, I'll tell you what, the NES collecting scene.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, I know. My wife is, you know, why are all of these women everywhere? Please make them go away.
Yeah,
models DMing me.
Yeah.
All right, fine.
I'm like, sorry, ladies. I'm
part of it's the other collectors. Yeah. It doesn't wow any of the other. Let's just say when I revealed I was going for a full set, we didn't get a ginormous amount of fan mail being super interested about the whole thing, and it's okay. I wear it with pride. Longtime listeners of the show know I'm kind of an odd collector, where I still love all the classics, but I like eclectic things that people aren't going for. So the PlayStation 3 community is this neat little niche of really nice collectors all around the world, since it's region free, that I really like. So anyway, my pickup has to do with that because it's a weird pick. So to me, arguably one of the best advertisement sections of like video game was the Kevin Butler series of commercials. If you don't know about this was the Dear PlayStation set of from 2008 to 2010. There was a vice president of fill in the blank. Kevin Butler was an actor whose name eludes me right now, but it was an autographed poster of him holding the Move with its like signed and numbered from E3 2010. There's a great video.
That's cool.
There's a great like 45-minute YouTube video of all those commercials out there. But you know, I really feel like he had a large part of making the PlayStation successful here, because before
they started advertising with him at the turnaround of the PS3.
They sure did, and it was around when they did their new model of the PS3
as
well.
Yeah, because the PS3 looked like it might actually kind of be somewhat of a failure-ish.
It was.
Prior to that advertising
360
campaign.
is pretty huge.
Yeah,
they had a good amount of games, but their ads were out of touch. They had crying babies. Anytime you have a system or a company where their previous system does really, really well, you get a little arrogant, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's just it. Like, hey, the Wii sold 100 million or whatever. Now we're going to make this other thing, a Wii U, and you're going to buy it and love it. Actually, we're going to wait a second. The PlayStation 2 owned. The PlayStation 2 still to this day owned everything under the sun.
That DVD player sure helped it.
Yeah, but 144 million units sold.
Oh, yeah.
And you think the Wii did great. That was almost another 40% higher.
The thing that's most, to sidetrack a little bit, the thing that's most impressive to me about the PS2, and to be clear before I get any hate mail, I really like the PS2. I have a big PS2 collection. The fat PS2 is the ugliest damn system that's ever been made.
Oh, you don't like it?
No,
I like
it is so ugly.
Really?
It's like a misshapen brick on top of another misshapen brick.
Oh, see,
that
vertically,
you stand on the side. No, even vertically, that is an ugly system. That thing is so ugly. It is the ugliest video game system in the history of video game systems.
Well, you said you didn't
Do you
want
have an
hate
opinion
mail.
on this, Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is super ugly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I like it.
I know people like it, but God, that thing is ugly.
You know, it was designed after kind of the shape of Japanese towers, right? So it's abstract, right? Just kind of like the new PS4.
It looks abstract. I'll give it that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think they're, the PS3 and the PS4 and the PS1, all you could still tell they're from the same kind of library. I think Nintendo's cool because they do switch it completely up. Like if you were to just take all the systems and put them on the floor, have someone who doesn't know anything about anything pull off the labels, which company made this, which company made that. I think the Sony ones at least kind of show some sort of unique, common wavelength of all the designs of all the systems. The first one was gray, but if it would have been black, or dark gray, which they made a dark gray version, right? Was that the test model of the PS1?
Yeah,
or something, or the other
something.
the PAL version, or
you know,
something?
the best PS1's the little
PSONE.
Yeah,
Yes.
the PS, the PSX, the PlayStation Experience, the whenever, whatever, forever.
Do I know what you're talking about?
Yeah, same one. We're talking about the same thing.
Okay.
But yeah, that thing's awesome. I love that little thing.
Yeah. But anyway, the Xbox 360 was owning the PS3 2 or 3 to 1 in terms of sales. It was also like PS3 was $599. Mm-hmm. It dropped its price. It was $299, and it came with some games. Pushed the Blu-ray player, and the ads are just brilliant and amazing and still hilarious to this day. I still think it's the best gaming outside of magazine ads. It's the best video game ad. What would you call that? Sorry,
the campaign.
Yeah, the ad campaign ever. And anyway, it's a really cool poster, 24 by 36, automatic, hand signed by the guy. It's super stupid, but if you're a collector of a specific system and you had that, like the Dreamcast, that screaming Japanese guy, or I don't know. I'm trying to think of any other prolific person attached to a campaign of a. I can't really think of anything else, right? Nothing. But anyway, it's going to be something only old random people talk about. But that was my one pickup, so I will shut up and now let Adam, or I'm sorry, Michael. You had some. You had some nice pickups.
Yeah, real nice pickup.
Yeah, I got extremely lucky.
Extreme.
Yeah, extremely lucky. I happened to check Craigslist on a Wednesday or Thursday, I think Thursday.
Which I don't even check anymore, but good for you for trying.
I just happened to check, and I saw this guy, and he had posted this ad that saying that he had a whole bunch of old video games. Some of them were new in the box, and that he was going to be out at this flea market on Saturday, selling all of his stuff. And, when they say, like, new in the box, I never really know what that means because I've been told they were in the box and then, like, NESs are just in the black little plastic sleeves, They're not actually in the real boxes.
That's not a box. Those dumb idiots.
Exactly. So they...
Sir, I am offended at your, poor use of the word box.
So kind of a pro tip. I decided not to... First of all, I messaged all of you guys. And I screenshot it, and I said, hey, I'm working on Saturday. Anyone want to go down there? And Shane was really the only one to reply.
I was out of town.
And that,
I was Adam was working or something.
Yeah, and me and Shane are more of the guys who will go to the flea markets and stuff.
I love the flea market. I just don't get to go.
I can't with my 1-year-old. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But anyway.
So, and I couldn't go either. But Shane was like, they'll all be gone by then. So I noticed that guy had a phone number, so I just decided to give him a call. And I'm glad that I did, and I'm especially glad that I didn't text him because I asked him if we could just go meet up, and he said no problem. And an hour later, I went up and met with him. And
why are you glad you didn't text him? Did he say he doesn't respond to text?
Because when I ended up showing up to the meeting, I asked him, I go, did you get anyone else? And he goes, yeah, I got about 6 people texting me. He goes, but I don't text. He goes, I use the phone. He was, in his upper 50s, just.
But really he would see the text and say, "These damn kids!" And
yeah, he was just a phone call guy. He wanted to hear the voice. He wanted to know.
Cool. Yeah.
So, and I don't blame him. When I talk to someone on the phone when I'm doing a deal, I feel more confident they're going to show up.
Snail mail. That's a new strategy, folks. Call that Craigslist person.
Well, I do it all the time for garage.
Send a carrier pigeon.
Well, because I'm lazy. Like
just show up at their door.
When people say they have garage sales with like Nintendo games and stuff, I'll email them like, "Hey, can I meet up with you the day before?"
That's actually a very good way to do things.
Because because people will wake up at 5 a.m. and sit there at these garage sales.
Yeah, good call. Yeah, you're right.
I don't have the time to do all that. So
you're going to undercut them for those poor bastards.
Well, I'm just jumping the line.
So another pro tip, which speaking of my neighborhood garage sale is coming up here pretty soon.
Yeah. But you keep saying when soon?
I think it's like April 19th.
That is soon.
But
cool.
In any respect, so it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday garage sale. Guess what we're gonna do, or at least what I'm gonna do. Thursday night, I'm going to go walking through the neighborhood, and anybody's getting their crap together.
Yeah.
Howdy, neighbor. How's it going? Hey, what you doing? What kind of stuff you got?
Well, the last 2 years you've had it, we've been out of town, and I actually want to go to it.
I mean, I've made out like a bandit. A couple of the years that we've had it out here. Now it's harder to get like really really old stuff, but not current generation, but the last generation. So things like PS3 or Xbox 360 or PS2.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just get stuff for nothing, you know. And
yeah,
I mean,
that's the way it should be.
The last year, which was
with
2 years ago, that I was able to do this. I bought 4 Xbox 360s.
I remember that for like $5 a piece.
Yeah, and I don't think I spent over like $7 on any one of the 4. You know, not that anybody needs that kind of thing, but yeah. So everybody that like came out to hang out at my house, you know, I'd give them an Xbox for $5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, you know, but that's what you do, man. You got to get there early. You can't be annoyingly early, meaning like, you know, outside somebody's house at like 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah, screw you.
But it's actually an understood thing in the neighborhood, at least, that like when people are setting up Thursday night, like it's pretty routine that everybody kind of trolls around, kind of checking out their neighbor stuff. Yeah. Like it's kind of an expectation, and they even have it designated as the neighborhood portion of the garage sale, so you can trade the crap with your neighbors. So yeah, I mean, but anybody can randomly, you know, just kind of show up and pretend that they live here or whatever.
Mm-hmm. I kind of feel like I would be excited. Like I've said this before. Last time I went through a garage sale, I was looking for games, and I was super happy to find toys and other stuff. Like I don't know. I kind of feel like also if they've got like, oh, that's a really cool like old tent I'm never going to use, but I think I will.
Yeah. I bought, you know, books, you know, movies and stuff.
Yeah,
I bought
tools. I don't even know what the heck they do, but it looks cool.
I bought a bunch of VHS tapes last year. My wife's like, "Why'd you buy all these VHS tapes?" And I was like,
"Because they were there."
How could I not buy them? They were like a penny a piece or something.
I bought it was a disc of Microsoft Office. It was $1. Did I have any plan on buying Microsoft Office? But no.
Wait, was this 96?
No. It was like a 2012 like student home edition. Like
whoa.
It was probably worth like a little bit of money, but you know, like get new laptops, put it on, you know. So I figured just keep it.
Or you could just display it.
Yeah, but then there's stupid things.
I think in every version.
I always
collect
live,
them all.
Yeah.
I always live in a state of garage sales past regret. You know, like last year there was a guy selling like 2 really high end Pioneer Laserdisc players, and I have a Laserdisc player, but at the time I wasn't quite as well versed, and mine's kind of a crappy one. And he wanted $50 a piece, and I'm like, $50 for a Laserdisc player? That's crazy. And now that I know what those Laserdisc players go for, I'm like, I should have bought both of them, you know, because his were like just perfect. You know,
well, they might still be there, knowing the market for Laserdisc.
I bought all of his Laserdisc. That was the thing. I bought him out of Laserdisc, but he would not come off the player. So, yeah, so he had like 50 or 60 Laserdisc. I bought every one.
Those are the most interesting people in the world. Yeah. Old school Laserdisc collectors.
Oh yeah.
Think about it. They were collecting this, that was super expensive.
And these dudes were for reals about their movies.
Oh, they looked like future records.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, spaceship media.
Yeah. You can't. Yeah, I tried hanging one for my rearview mirror thing. I kept getting accidents, but.
Womp, 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 womp.
I want to do that. I just want to hang one of those, like, you remember that, hanging a CD? I did. You know, that was a thing for a small period of time.
That was a thing.
From 1996 to 1998, everybody was hanging a CD from their.
Yeah. It's like
high school girlfriend.
Hey, if anybody wants to break into a vehicle and get one of these here CD players, this would be the one.
Yeah, it's just like have this thing shine the sun into your eye at random when you're taking a right turn.
That was a big thing. Stealing faceplates, like stealing CD players. Oh my God. Now nobody would even care about a CD player.
I hope not. My car got broken into from having that, and really? That sucked. Yeah, you remember taking? Everybody.
I remember that happened all the time.
So every time you park your car,
because they were like $200, and everyone wanted one.
Yeah,
I think it's still a thing. Like in Philadelphia, you just leave your car unlocked because it just happens.
When I was in, so this is bringing back bad memories, but when I was in college, I had a Camaro. Convertible.
You had a Camaro convertible.
I did. Can you imagine?
I can't actually. What year was this?
This would have been.
What year is the car?
Oh, the car was a '92, and I don't even like that
92 Camaro. Wow.
And I don't even like that body style of Camaro that much. But they made a convertible coupe that had this cool tonneau cover. I still think it's one of the best looking Camaros ever made. Yeah. Loved that car.
It's just funny because you're not to me a car guy.
And this comes from an era where I didn't have any money at all, and like my pride and joy was this car.
Cool.
And
that's a teenage thing, man. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a rag top, and I bought it was in high school, or when I was in high school, paid for it myself. So I'm going to college. I was like a freshman, I think, or a sophomore, and my wife, then girlfriend, came in, and she's like, "You need to go look at your car." And so I go out there, and somebody had just taken a knife and just gutted it. And cut the whole top apart, ripped my dash to shreds, cut the seats in the car.
Dude, that's when it's all making sense to how you were saying that, like, sometimes I get really mad all of a sudden. I don't know where my rage comes from. Dude, that was it. That was your origin point.
It's a good thing I didn't control lightning and didn't have omniscient powers.
The God of Thunder. You would have blown up the earth.
Yes.
F people.
Well, and, so he caused, the car was worth like maybe $4,000 at the time.
Yeah.
But for a $200 CD player, caused roughly $4,000 worth of damage to my vehicle. And the thing about cutting the seats was, I don't think it was anybody like with a vendetta against me. The guy was just like getting
in a hurry.
A CD player and just thought it'd be cool to like stab the seat while he was in there. You know what I mean? Like he didn't like cut it all to pieces, but a couple of stab marks on the seat. And it's like, dude, So long story short, I had to actually get rid of the car because I couldn't afford to repair it. After the fact.
Sad story.
Sad story. Womp womp. Sorry, guys.
No. I just feel bad for the Camaro too. It ended early. That car was appreciated.
Yeah, it actually did get fixed back up, and
okay, good.
Yeah, it got taken care of after that, but like I said, not the most pleasant memory.
Yeah. Jeez, yeah, people suck sometimes. Yeah.
Sorry, Michael.
No, you're fine.
Yeah.
So pretty much, I just we tried to get him to meet up beforehand, and I showed up, and he essentially pulled out 3 boxes. And the very first box he opened up in my job,
tons of porn.
Just that'd have been nice if there was something in the bottom of it. Yeah, but
bonus.
This is better than porn.
The guy had this real creepy laugh and a funny looking mustache.
I got these DVDs.
So I think I'll kind of go through some of the more of the highlights. If you want to look at the actual, I made a video and put it up on our Facebook page and our YouTube. So if you do want to check that out, you can.
Nice.
But I did get every single thing that I pretty much got was complete in the box. Everything had the manual, and there's NES games, Super Nintendo, a few N64 games, GameCube, a little bit of everything. There was one sealed thing, which was the Super Nintendo controller. Had the hang tab on it and everything. And
hang tab, nice.
Yep. And as far as some of the games are, I got Soul Blazer on Super Nintendo.
It's a good one to have.
Yeah, I didn't have that one at all. Now I have it complete in the box. Final Fantasy 2 and 3. Illusion of Gaia. Legend of Zelda. On Super Nintendo, Link to the Past.
I heard that's a good game.
It's all right.
Yeah, some people have mentioned it.
And I didn't have the box for that, so I was pretty excited about that. Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2.
2 of my favies.
Zelda Majora's Mask was complete. Game called Gods, which I've never heard of, on Super Nintendo. Not too familiar with it.
Sounds like religious.
Yeah.
That's the whole name of it?
No, it's just called Gods. I never heard of it.
Does it stand for something?
Doesn't look like it.
Girls on Demand services.
Why
was that the first thing that came in my brain?
I don't know. I was thinking. It's pleasant on this side of the gutter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And then I got
giraffes on dentistry. I don't know. It's probably nothing. Keep going. I'm interrupting.
You're good.
I'm wasting everybody's time. Go ahead.
You're good. So then on NES, all these I got complete in the box, and everyone is mint. With like the cellophane still wrapped. He took like a razor blade, must have, and cut the top of it just to pull the game out. He had Willow, Super Mario 3, Mario Brothers, the original.
Like the arcade?
Oh, actually, no. I'm sorry. Super Mario Brothers. I should have.
Okay.
I wish I didn't
Slash
have that.
Duck Hunt or just Super Mario Brothers?
Just the original Super Mario Brothers. Yeah, and it's actually a really mint box. And I actually talked to Adam about how I've gotten like 2 or 3 like really crushed original Super Mario Brother boxes, and this is finally the first one I've gotten that's like mint. So I was really happy about that.
Sweet.
Let's see. Side Pockets, Final Fantasy, Castle of Dragon. Then I also ended up getting all 4 Dragon Warriors on NES complete in the box.
That's crazy.
Those are really good to have.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I actually been fortunate in other lots to have 1, 2, and 3 complete, but now I have 4. So that's now it's kind of the tough one to get. Had of course, like the Legend of Zelda and Adventures of Link complete. Goonies 2, Faxanadu.
The funny thing with Goonies 2 is there's actually no
Goonies 1. Yeah.
Goonies 1 was like I think a PC point and click or something. There actually is one, but it's a totally different.
When you put it on a new console, though,
that's what I mean. Like
one.
why just just call it Goonies? Sorry.
Exactly. No, you're good. That's a good point. Then on GameCube, they had the Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Luigi's Mansion, Pikmin 1 and 2, which I didn't have both Pikmins.
Pikmin, have you ever played Pikmin 1 and 2?
I didn't have either of them.
Pikmin 1, 2, and 3, shout out to the Wii U. Super underrated games. They're all just fantastic games.
They had a compilation on the Wii U?
No, Pikmin 3. Is
the third one.
3,
yeah. Pikmin 3 is so it's kind of skipped Wii. They redid motion controls for Pikmin 1, and I think both Pikmin 1 and 2 for Wii, but 3 actually waited all the way to the Wii U. But 3 on the Wii U, like if you're only going to get like 2 or 3 Wii U games, Pikmin 3 should be one of them.
Oh, that's good to know because I feel like I have a pretty well-rounded set.
Yeah,
I don't think I have that.
It's a really solid game.
Interesting.
But anywho.
Cool.
Yeah, so, and then they had a couple systems, like a pretty much brand new GameCube, the Platinum one, in the box with all the plastic and everything.
Nice.
It also had a second GameCube that actually had the Game Boy player and the Game Boy disc actually still inside of it, which was kind of rare find.
Yep. Disc still sells for what, 40?
I think it's more like
than
50.
the player.
I was going to say more like 50 or 60, I would say now.
Yeah, and the player you can get not bad.
Like $10, yeah, $10-$20 or something like that.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely more stuff, but I really couldn't believe it because you just never really see like a random lot of games like that, especially when you don't know what you're getting.
No, that's it. That's a 2006 pickup right there.
Yeah, exactly.
That doesn't happen in the Midwest.
Kept them in mint condition, which is even more rare.
Especially Craigslist. Like, that's just
yeah. So I was pretty much floored. So, but yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
All right. And I had a pretty good pickup, I think, last week. It was a little bit random. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was just kind of sitting at home. And I actually was playing Metroid, I think, at the time. And one of my buddies that I've known for a long, long time, and I know that, he has a collection and has collected for a long time, that kind of thing. And he just kind of says, hey, man, I have a lot of games I need to get rid of. Would you be interested, kind of thing. Kind of sent me a couple of quick little pictures. I was like, well, yeah, I'd be interested, kind of thing. And told him that I had a week of vacation coming up, and I'd be in back near where I grew up, primarily to visit my wife's grandmother, whose health isn't so well right now. But I said, yeah, I'll be nearby, and when we go down and see her after we get done, seeing her on our way back or whatever, we'll stop by and have a look, maybe talk about some things and that kind of stuff. And when I showed up, I was kind of a little bit uncertain on exactly what was there and what, and that sort of thing. When we showed up, was kind of, completely floored, by the whole thing. And it was actually the way everything was arranged. It was hard to tell what all was there. I could see the top side of what was in boxes or drawers or whatever, but didn't really.
Yeah, you showed us pictures. It just looked like a lot of games.
Sort of, yeah, but I couldn't really dig through them, really there or whatever. And we kind of briefly, he primarily called me because we've sort of kept in contact back and forth, and we also had we were pretty good friends back in high school and had a lot of very similar interests and ran with the same group of people, and he kind of contacted me primarily because of the podcast. He knows that I have a fairly sizable collection and try to take care of the things and preserve them and all that kind of stuff, and he needed to get rid of it. Because he's kind of just moved on in life, in some ways, but he didn't want to necessarily piecemeal it all out or have it, try to sell it off piece by piece and really go through all of that, but also wanted it to go to somebody who would appreciate it and also let other people appreciate it.
Kind of more a time thing, or I mean, it's okay. It doesn't have to say because he's a buddy of yours that listens to the podcast, but kind of just his wanting to get rid of it was this kind of a. Just because of space or moving, or
I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I think it's probably not as simple as a single factor.
Gotcha.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in any respect, so he kind of chose me, which I'm very grateful for to have me come down there and sort of take a look at those sort of things. So we came to kind of a mutual agreement that I think was a really good deal for both of us. At least I hope that. And so we drive the minivan. I've talked about the minivan in the past. I had the minivan packed I had all the seats down except the one that my kid sits in, and I had the minivan like to the roof full of games. It's like all the way from the front to the back to the roof.
Yeah, you were pulled over because your muffler's grinding and you're making
kind
sparks.
of, yeah. I got pulled over and then I gave the cop a cool PS2 game and let me go.
Yeah, you accidentally gave him this stash of Oh, I meant to give you this game.
Yeah. So I got back, kind of repackaged everything a little bit, and we actually did a big pickup video. Shane and I did, and we're somewhat amateurish in the video, but I think it actually turned out pretty well. So if you want, you should get on our YouTube channel and check that out because there's some pretty surprising things in that.
What's the title of the video?
The
epic
pickup of epic epicness or something like that. I can't remember.
You got to put epic in the title of a video game.
The thing is, I hate using like all these superlatives and all this stuff like they do on YouTube. But if you're going to put things on YouTube, you kind of have to
search Video Game Dads podcast for three guys. I mean, there's a reason why our name is Bland. We talk about it a lot.
Yeah, so
it would be pretty tough to top this pickup.
It's like literally.
You'd almost have to buy a store.
Yeah, of all the YouTube pickups that I've seen in pickup videos, this would be one of the better ones. And I'm not just saying it because it was mine. Like it's
we watch a lot of pickups. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's an amazing group of games.
Yeah. The only thing missing is a whole bunch of superfluous like. Well, actually, I will say Shane does have a little. Shane's perfect because he peppers in some.
Yeah, Shane, I'm pretty.
You're pretty stoic, like when you're like,
sort of. And honestly, like it's kind of funny because when you put yourself out in a public forum like we do on the podcast or YouTube or whatever, I always get this critique of like you have a monotone voice and you suck and I hate you, kind of thing.
Who says that? Well, are you on yourself?
I'm exaggerating to some extent, but it's kind of funny. I think it's funny when people get offended by my free content that I'm
right. Wait, do you already have negative comments?
Well, I mean, you always get negative comments on different things.
Really?
Not on the pickup video necessarily, but like I said, if I've ever had any negative comments about the podcast, it's usually me being too much of a,
Yeah.
But in any respect, I think the video and that kind of thing came out pretty well. But the lot of games is, I mean, like I said, it's an amazing lot of games. A lot of Game Boy Advance games that are boxed and complete and in perfect shape. They look brand new. And a lot of DS games that are the same thing. A lot of 3DS games that are the same thing.
Every PlayStation RPG.
Yeah, basically every PlayStation RPG spanning PS1 through PS4 or PS3 at least.
I mean, like everything.
Yeah, and so if you can think of it, it was probably in that lot. There's some imports, there's some Saturn games, there's and really kind of the crown jewel
DS.
of it there's a North American Neo Geo in there as well as some Neo Geo games.
Mm-hmm.
And Japanese Saturn system, which I've kind of been wanting one of those for a while. Just never had pulled the plug on it,
I remember seeing those as a kid and thinking, "Oh, when are we going to get that
color?" They just look so cool, man.
They do. They look better.
God, they're so cool looking.
Just black didn't work.
I mean, I don't dislike the black one, but God, that white version that they had over in Japan, man, I think it's so cool.
And they learned it with the Dreamcast. Although it's funny, the black Dreamcast actually looks pretty good too.
It does, yeah. I mean, like I said, they both look good, but man, that Japanese Saturn just looks really nice.
Yeah.
There's a Famicom disk system that was in there. And I didn't even show them on the video, but there's a handful of Neo Geo Pocket Color games.
I haven't even seen those. I want to see those.
You got like the rarest Sega CD games.
Yeah, I got a handful of the rare Sega CD games. I got probably the second rarest Sega Saturn game, Magic Knight Ray Earth. Mm-hmm. And again, it's like a pristine, perfect copy of it. It basically is a who's who of what's on, all of these different systems. There's a good amount of Xbox stuff in there too, and I'm not a big Xbox collector, and I don't claim to be.
Is it 360 or regular?
Both.
Oh,
cool. And I don't claim to have a tremendous amount of Xbox knowledge. But everything I think I would have wanted for the 360 was like in those boxes. And the other thing that's super cool, because I really, really like SNK stuff, Neo Geo stuff, and everything else. My friend really liked that stuff too. So like every non Neo Geo system SNK game, like that I can think of for the most part, outside of the NES and a couple other things, was in that box. Mm-hmm. So I mean, there are old things like there's Alpha Mission for NES, Ikari Warriors, those kinds of things that predate the Neo Geo system itself. But then they put out all these compilations of like Samurai Showdown anthology, all these King of Fighters anthologies, all the King of Fighter games just in general, all the Art of Fighting games. All of those are in. I mean, literally all the games that I've been running around looking for like the last year, going every store I go into, I have to look through tons of games looking for these specific games, like Samurai Showdown 5. And they were basically all here.
Yeah.
What blew me away is how many, because this guy bought all these games, correct?
Yeah.
Did he buy them all new, or
I don't know. I don't know the exact circumstances.
A lot looked like they were new.
What blew me? Well, yeah, that's what blew me away is that like half of them seemed to be sealed. Like, there were so many.
I mean,
I couldn't imagine buying that, and keeping it, and just never.
And he went to a lot of trade shows, I think, and did a lot of wheeling and dealing and that sort of thing as well. But yeah, there's a fair amount of sealed games in there. And some of the sealed games are just ridiculous. I mean, there's a sealed Fire Emblem Radiant, Path of Radiance.
Yeah, a ton of those PS1s were, I remember.
But like I said,
you're going on like 20 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's I don't know. It was really nice to have, and they're really nice things to add to the collection. And when I have it, I've had a couple other relatively big pickups like this in the past. None of this high quality, of course, but it kind of fills me with a little bit of anxiety because I got to get all this stuff kind of cataloged and put away and organized correctly and all this sort of thing. And I've actually been talking to my wife, and I think at some point in the future, I'm not sure exactly when, I would actually like to get this stuff out of my house and actually have a separate structure for it, like a separate place to house all of these things.
Yep.
You see like John Hancock on YouTube and those kinds of things, but
my basement's available, by the way.
Yeah.
If you want to store some stuff.
No, I mean,
but what do you mean by John Hancock? Isn't that his basement?
Well, it's his house, yes, but he has aspirations to have a museum.
To turn. That's what you're getting at. Gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
To turn his stuff into something that's bigger than just him having it. And I kind of have some pie in the sky, similar thoughts, about things in the future. There's things like the video game museum and all those kinds of things. But like you come down here and this place really is a time capsule, of all of these things that really matter. But having that stuff, and a lot of that stuff is really hard to get your hands on, sort of helps solidify. I mean, again, we're all crazy because we have all this, seemingly junk to some people kinds of stuff. But this really solidifies or helps solidify my efforts as far as having things that aren't easy to reproduce, aren't available other places. There's not really anything that's my collection has become much more unique because of this recent pickup, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
So it was a rewarding thing, I think, in that regard.
Oh yeah.
Do you think?
And you got a good deal on it too.
Yeah.
It didn't pay out, because it could have cost you.
Oh no, these games
to get this, like it would have cost
these games
a ton
to track
of money.
them down, to buy them, to do all this thing.
Like a car's more than.
And I mean, a lot of these things are things that are like on my active searching for list. But I mean, you're talking this is years worth of effort, all done in one thing. So I was really, really happy.
Yeah. Check out the video. It's pretty cool. That was the other thing we just touch upon a little bit. So like hypothetically, and we don't have to use this instance because we don't know, but like, was this? Well, I am going to ask this: was this most of his game collection, or did he decide I'm going to keep all my Dreamcast, or is this kind of all
uncertain.
his big? You said he kept his NES games.
He did.
That he wanted.
There were NES games.
I asked about that.
That's what I was. That's what I was expecting. Because like, if we all do this, do we all think about this? Can we say candidly? Let's just speak. Like, I think about this. Like, getting rid of the games. Okay, how about no one's going to hold a knife to your head and say your family will be gone if you get your games taken away. But like, if your games were taken away and you could only pick one system or one group of games or one type of, or how about genre or something, a platformer versus whatever, you'd still be happy. Your life would still freaking go on. You'd still go on your vacations and stuff. You get the money for it, I guess. Yeah. So if you could still have a monetary value, but the games would be gone, but you had the ability to repurchase some, I don't think your collection would then grow like some things. Like, I think you wouldn't get as many out of it. I don't know where I'm kind of going at. it's so interesting what that has to feel like to get rid of those games.
See, for me, I could never probably get rid of my NES collection.
No matter what, right?
Probably no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, in extreme, circumstances, I would probably, but I just don't think it's worth that much to.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine.
You know what I mean? Like maybe I would get rid of my boxes and manuals, but I would always keep the games.
Keep the games.
Yeah.
And there's certain, like, I would never get rid of Super Mario Sunshine or Double Dash. I would never get rid of a Mario Kart. Like, there's no way I would just ever get rid of those.
Yeah.
But as far as
EverDrive, though, you
exactly. Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You could do that, but not really for the GameCube, but.
Yeah, and Adam, if you didn't have these aspirations, so the museum thing is good, and I think that is a way also to, like, because I don't have that aspiration, so I constantly think about, like, I have a lot of games. Am I going to be able to play them? I don't even have time to, like, properly clean the area to, like, catalog that, because I'm very much, I want to have a place for my games. Every game has to have a place, and the place should kind of feng shui, and I get that challenged all the time to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even deal with this, because I like having it all set up and ready. And there's something about the dusting of it or something that you like to have this physical thing that you can touch and pull off and look at the label for the 2 seconds and get these little neurons in your head firing just enough for you to feel like, oh man, I like this game. This is really cool. I like, and looking at the uniformity and kind of standing back and not, there's something about that that's really nice and reaffirming to it all.
It almost reminds me of, like, going into, like, a Blockbuster or something where you
Sure.
just have these walls of things that you want, and you almost want them all, and you want to check them all out.
Sort of.
You kind of have it.
Well,
me.
and it's
how I feel about
for
it.
me. I mean, games, and the reason I think I'm attracted to this hobby, I suppose, is people think, oh, it's this obsession with having these things, and that's kind of part of it, the collecting of the physical things, but part of it's having the thing, and then part of it, a big part of it, probably the bigger part of it for me, is the journey of getting the things.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because you run across people, you get into situations, you do things, you meet people, you have social interactions with people that otherwise would have never happened. And for me, I think the attraction of gaming to me, just in the general sense, and the reason why it's always appealed to me so much, is because the games in and of themselves, the art form that they are and all that kind of thing, I find really appealing. But, like, literally every, like, really, I shouldn't say every really good, but most or a lot of the very good social interactions I can think of with my buddies growing up, people in college, the people who I bonded with, throughout life. And then also the things that I keep going back to. Oftentimes, video games are kind of the focal point. It's what we all meet over. It's what we all kind of do together or did together.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And so
my roommates in college, just quick story. I had we were very different, and I lived with them, and we decided we weren't like best friends because we all had kind of different aspirations. One was like grew up all kind of homeschool, a different personality. One was kind of an introvert and then we were just all kind of different, but we all played Mario Kart together at least once a week for the Nintendo 64, and we were all really good at it, and we were all like kid-like competitive. And this is when you're like 20, 21, 20, adulthood, paying bills, doing that kind of thing. So I get that, Adam. It's my point is, I guess is that, like, these things just make people come together, and I think that the social interaction. And I think one of the reasons I don't online game is because, some of that's lost on me. I know. I was going to say, because there's so many. We say that, and we're pretty. Yeah. I think we made a point to make this podcast something positive. Everybody gets their own thing, but we realize your time shouldn't be wasted. Just like Adam, you're saying, my own time shouldn't be wasted by people that waste your time, that are stupid, that ruin the hobby. That's why we kind of like hate the dark parts of this hobby. There's dark parts of every hobby, but I completely hear what you're saying.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think at some point, if there's some way to kind of give those positive interactions or that kind of thing to other people, or get them into that kind of thing, then I think that's a healthy and beneficial thing. And so, in some ways, and a lot of the way my life is structured just in general is trying to improve things for other people to some extent. I'm not trying to toot my horn or anything, but I've always tried to be a somewhat positive person, at least in a public kind of way. And so I think video games go right along with that. They're just another outlet to kind of, make life better.
Yeah.
And I remember like just most of my games where I get them from. Like I'll never forget that I got the Turbo Graphics from you. Or actually the first time I met you, Ben, was when I actually got Rescue Rangers. And I traded you before I even knew you, and you remembered this somehow. I don't know how. We were at a convention and you were like, I
knew I recognized you, and you said for sure that you didn't, and I was like, no,
that was that was a whole other story. That was because you said I broke my nose, and I was like, I didn't break my nose, but I had a little little piece of my nose cut off to see if it was, they had to test it. I forgot what it's called.
A biopsy?
A biopsy, yeah. I have a biopsy on my nose, so I did have a huge bandage on my nose for a day. It wasn't broken. But, I got Rescue Rangers.
I said you had a bandage. I didn't even say it was. I was like, you had a bandage on your nose. And
it was a couple years before or something.
Yeah. But anyway, it was funny.
But those kind of stories of meeting people and then re-meeting you, and it's just those kinds of experiences, I think, that, adds another element to just playing video games.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Conversations almost daily with random, people, collectors. We shout some of them out here and there. We still continue interaction. We don't see these people in person for a year or 2 or 3, and then you kind of meet up and have like cool little get-togethers. And it's exciting when the weather warms up. We can still do that again. I think.
And you help each other out too, because sometimes I have something that somebody wants, and it doesn't really mean much to me, and you might have something that I want. Just kind of a nice little situation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's just it. The I don't know. Yeah, it's a way to still do some things that remind you of being a kid, trading video games or giving them away or something like that. That like. Yeah, you get something out of giving.
It's the escapist part of it. You deal with heavy things all day long. Life has a lot of things that it throws at you. It's good to have things to take your mind off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and for the most part, I feel people who are kind of video game collectors are good people.
Yeah,
there are definitely some scumbags out there, but generally for the most part, some like stores specifically, but
yeah.
For the most part, everyone that I've met, and we've talked about, people we've met in our own area who we didn't know we knew each other, but like we've all met up with the same people, but we've just never really all gotten together.
Yeah.
But we all know the same people, so it's kind of a cool.
Yeah, and all the
group.
Yeah, and then also the people know who other people like watch on YouTube or listen to about XYZ or an old podcast about whatever. It's a great little community. It's good to hear that. Like even your guys' stories is nice because, like for me, there's been 2 times in the recent history where it's like I think about my games as a little bit of a crutch sometimes. Just being honest, like sometimes I think like I have this, I have that, and it's like at the end of the day, like I'm worried about like where am I going to put this? I don't have room. I'm thinking about like how am I going to display it? And I feel like when you put your collection in boxes in a basement, that's when you start like drinking in the morning to wake up your eyes and stuff, when it starts to be a problem. And I've already kind of had some of that. And I think like, but it's good to like talk to you guys and we do this podcast. Cause like, honestly, I think let's say we all went poof and we were the only, like Adam, if you had no local friends that played video games, would your collection be this broad and this big?
Probably not.
Yeah. So you're right.
It makes it more fun, I think.
Yeah.
People have share that common interest
with
you.
Yeah. And that's the thing I have to constantly remember too. Cause sometimes I do see it as, and again, nothing against if you don't have a large collection, I could see it also if you're listening to
all of us started off with nothing.
Yeah. And not everybody that listens to this podcast collects. So maybe hopefully this is interesting to you because I think a good amount maybe want to collect or they just like video games, and the collector part we've heard that as feedback. The collector part is interesting. They like to hear pickups because they don't do any of this and I don't pick up I don't do as much in person stuff because I hate it when it goes wrong. I hate it when people don't show up. The last time is this lady we were gonna trade a couple like simple. I was going for the complete set of the Lego games for like a system or something, and she like didn't show up, and I was just like, "F this! I'm not gonna meet with anybody." But you have to go through that in order to get it. So there's different ways to collect and things like that.
Different people, and you don't need to have like. Some people will be like, so like, what's the end game, or like what's the goal of it?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
So, and some people just like to buy video games. Some people want to get a complete set.
Yeah.
Some people just want games that they like, and
More power to them.
Yeah, to each person, they can do whatever you like. It's not. It doesn't. You don't have to be labeled or painted into a corner.
Yeah. As long as it doesn't cause a huge amount of strife. I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of like, you're getting this again, doing this. You know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
You make sure you pick up your wife's favorite gum when you're going through the checkout line, when you also have a kid. She does the same thing. She buys 3 pairs of shoes. You only see one of them, right? It's a kind of, and you know that there's probably 2 other pairs of shoes she's hiding somewhere, but you don't give her crap because you just bought the 4th version of the same game you haven't opened yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guilty.
Yeah, no. When I brought all those games home, she goes, "Don't you already have The Legend of Zelda?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've got a couple copies of it." She's like, "Why do you need another one?" And I was like, "Why not?"
I know. It's like you get a picture. Those people who collect elephants, you have like 30 ceramic elephants. Why do you need 32, 33, 34?
Yep.
Yeah, take that, elephant ceramic lady. I don't know. Yeah, it's just fun to collect these kind of things. I like this kind of stuff. Sorry, went a little long talking about it, but that's cool. An awesome pickup. Please check out the video. A few I don't know, 100. If you have a few minutes or whatever, or like watch it as you go in the background or whatever. Wait until a fun title or system pops up. He covers about every title.
Yeah, I didn't pull every single
or
title
every system.
I got out,
System I meant.
But,
sorry.
But yeah, and there's a lot of games in there that you probably never heard of, and it's not that I know everything about everything, but I tried to throw in a little bit of knowledge here and there about some of the games.
Yeah,
and that sort of thing.
And I'm pretty ignorant to a lot of this stuff.
Super surprised if someone knew all these games.
Yeah. So like I said, there are going to be some things in there you probably never seen, I've never heard, don't know anything about, and might grab you might think's interesting,
Yeah, but anyway, cool. And maybe this happens more. That's the other thing. As gamers get older, we get to a certain age, there's going to be more of this, people offloading the entire system libraries to actually other collectors. If I were to do my entire library, I would probably, obviously, it would be another collector. It wouldn't be some random Joe, I guess. But I would probably do the same thing, kind of seek it out and get rid, not entirely, but the huge lot of it and majority of it and stuff. So yeah, everybody says there's not deals out there, but lot deals I think are coming because of the way hobbies and systems and flows.
You wouldn't put your collection on eBay for like $50,000.
The entire thing. A lot of people do that.
Yeah, I know.
And then people in Dubai buy it all and then they send it there. It's really interesting to actually hear. The people that end up buying it are usually abroad, and the people that can print their own money. It's kind of interesting, but also kind of scary when you get a wire transfer.
I figure some stores maybe buy that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
too.
You're right. I've had a lot
in there.
I've had stores buy lots when I used to sell lots on eBay. Yeah, it would normally be, the address would be like, game
we
bunches.
Buy games.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, totally. Okay. Anything else, guys?
No, I think that's everything I have to talk about.
Yep. All right, good. Well, I think this is going to be a podcast, guys. It's getting kind of late. It is a weekday. We got to go home to the family here. So thank you for joining us. This has been episode 29. The last 2 episodes, we kind of haven't had a main theme. We'll get another main theme in here, but we wanted to crunch out a couple episodes, especially with some really cool
pickups. And that being said, if you want to hear us discuss a specific topic, send us an email.
Yeah, send us an email. But of course, listen to all other 28 episodes and don't. I'm just kidding. Sorry. I was, how sometimes people would say, send us an email. And so it's say, how do we get more time to play games? And it's like, the same answer is, you got to cut your sleep or something like that. Time travel.
It's called a flux capacitor.
Yeah. But any specific system, hey, we're about done with the 64. So let us know what system we want to jump to. If there's something else coming up you want to say. I kind of feel we haven't talked about this. We could jump around a little at this point, don't you think? Maybe. Right? If someone wants us to go to.
I mean, what would be next in line if we're going chronologically? Would it be our Dreamcast?
It would be the Dreamcast. Yeah, which would actually be awesome. Never mind, forget that. We're going to the Dreamcast next, folks. But anyway, thank you for joining us. Episode 29 of the Video Game Dads podcast. Make sure to send us an email at videogamedads@yahoo.com, or check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/videogamedads, or any of your other social media, including YouTube, avenues of absorbing content. And we will see you next time. Thank you so much for spending a small part of your day to listening to us talk about gaming, fatherhood, and everything in between from a basement. For me and the other 2 guys, thank you for listening. Episode 29 is in the books.
Thank you.
Have a good day.